We are live.
So far, the order for our meeting for President Forum. All right, Ms. Sarah Hadley here, Ms. Leslie Hadley here, Ms. Dana Everett here, Mr. Dave Hudson, not present, and Ms. Judy Stazak here. Okay, thank you. Motion is needed to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of Board that began October 20th, 2021. Motion. Thank you, Judy. Second. Dana. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Communications, there is a letter from the Rensselaer Environmental Coalition, which I think Joe will.
Yep, we have the letter from the REC requesting that we, I believe the request here is to make sure that we make the letter that we write public, which we plan to, and we will share it when we write it. But we're on the timeline of the renewal, not a timeline of November, which seemed to be the push. But we will get that done, and we will be happy to share it based on that request, and we welcome everybody here today. I also have another thing that's in front of you printed.
Yeah. This is on.
This is not on the agenda just for student privacy, but this student came and asked if in their senior year they can stay. Legally, we are allowed to make an exception for a student that is in good standing, has demonstrated commitment for attendance, and has not had disciplinary issues. We can make the exception of residency and allow them to finish out their career here if they've spent the majority of their educational career. It's my style to ask the student to advocate for themselves and write the board a letter. This is the letter that I asked the student to write. And based on all of those criteria, I am going to recommend that we make that exception and allow this student to stay. It's not on there just to say the name of the student, but this is just an advocacy effort that I wanted to include the board in.
Absolutely. Great letter from a young person, so I support that. Any Board of Education items other than that? No? Okay, consideration for additional items to the agenda? And assignment of action items? No? Okay, so we're gonna move into reports. Heather, are you the first report for the Project Aware grant? I didn't wanna assume, but you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go up so I can click it for Amber.
Yep.
Amber, the rundown. We'll kind of go through, this is our annual report for Project Aware, which is a 5-year grant through SAMHSA. Really gonna take about 10-15 minutes. If you have any questions, let us know as we go through it. We're just gonna recap the last year, not the last 3 to 4, so let's save you there.
So I'm Amber. I'm the community project manager on the Project Aware grant. Just a little overview of the goals. So there are 4 goals on this. The first one is to implement evidence-based training for school staff, families, students, and community. Increase on-site identification, screening, referral, and access to culturally competent and appropriate mental health services. Increase outreach and engagement of school-age youth and their family and mental health programming and implementation, and develop a sustainable infrastructure so once the 5-year grant is up, we can still continue on with the mental health initiatives that we started. So just a little overview, like Heather said, we're not gonna go over years 1, 2. We'll just go over what we did a little bit in year 3 and a little bit of what's upcoming for year 4. So this year we got a couple new friends added. Maggie is our school psychologist and Chris Johnson is our social media and mental health specialist and prevention educator.
We would have liked them to come and talk a little bit about some of the programs we have going, but they weren't able to come tonight, so we'll just kind of brief over some of the things they've been doing for you.
So I know we've mentioned in the past, at the last meeting, we had Too Good for Drugs, Too Good for Violence going, positive action for the middle school. And then this year we started with PAC's Good Behavior Game, which is another evidence-based program that we were doing. It's not a curriculum, it's supposed to be like a culture shift. And then it is not currently an evidence-based program, but we have a social media and digital citizenship curriculum that Chris Johnson is working on and will be doing with grades 9 through 12. So just a little recap, we created a mental health webpage that is on our website. If you go to the link where the PPS, yes, I put the little link there, but where PPS is listed on the website, if you click on that, it'll take you here, which we did with Jane from the public library. She helped coordinate, so there's resources for parents, there's information on a variety of different mental health topics. The PPS staff is listed as individuals you can reach out to if you need assistance, so that is up, running, and constantly updated, so.
And Heather Jenner is here tonight that helped us put this together.
yes.
So there she is, did a wonderful job helping us with these beautiful images, and it's much more than this page. You can go to different page and get resources and link to library books about anxiety, about depression, about anything you might have answers or questions to that kids can also go to, parents can go to, so it's a great resource.
And then last year, we were able to do an event week-long for Children's Mental Health Week. People may have caught the little segment on the news. Joe and Heather were on there talking about the different events we had to bring awareness. So we launched our mental health webpage. We had a photography contest for the 7th through 12th grade. We did mindful practices through coloring up mandalas with the little guys. And then NAMI tabled in the lobby with different mental health resources and information for students. And they did a screening of their End the Silence video that we shared with the 9th through 12th grade. And then a little bit later on, we had a speaker come in. It was a Facebook Live event. Dr. Amy helped proctor that. Dr. Karen Pepper was here. She spoke on ADHD, different tips, tricks, kind of answered questions for parents. So we had over 300 people view the live event throughout the course of it being on the page. So pretty good turnout for that. So just a little cute picture. The beginning of this year, which was still part of year 3, we had Tori and Kelsey from Start Children's Center table in the lobby with myself, Heather, a couple other individuals, and they brought little rubber bracelets with the National Suicide Hotline on them, different information to hand out to the students as they came in. So it was another good turnout. We had a large majority of students coming in that day.
And we played a clip that our Questar group did, a group of students at Questar did a program regarding suicide and how you can help your friends and how you can reach out to them and where you can get them help, and all of 9 through 12 graders participated in that.
So then there we are.
You're gonna skip over that,
Highlight the turnout.
That was them, don't blink.
You know, give a little credit to the different people. So in year 3, we did a lot of training, as you can see up there. I think partly due to the fact that most of them are virtual, so it's a little bit easier to get people to attend. We did a 3-part series where we partnered with Mahaney's, 3 different 1-hour trainings. As I mentioned, we started rolling out positive action in the middle school during year 3, so we did the initial training for that. We did the climate training, and then we did a train the trainer opportunity, which will then aid in the sustainability of this after grant funding is gone. We also have some amazing people here that are already trained as trainers in different things, so we were able to have a handful of in-house trainings. Teresa Darkangelis was here. She did current drug trends and family systems. Dr. Amy did FBA and BIP and therapeutic crisis intervention. Youth mental health first aid, we partnered with Rensselaer County Department of Mental Health. Davia was here to do that. We had an online helping students at risk for suicide training. And then during our September 2nd PD day, we had restorative practices and listening circles. We did the positive action for any new teachers that would be teaching that. So that was another one where we were able to train the staff. And as I mentioned earlier, we rolled out PACs.
And just as a note too, I think we probably have over probably 90% of all of our staff in the building trained on, youth mental health,
Yes.
I was gonna call mental health, but youth mental health first aid.
Yes.
So that's very good considering, you know, the area in schools, different schools don't usually get to train that much of their staff.
So I just wanted to highlight something that we did with our external evaluator, Brockport Research Institute. At the end of last school year, we sent out a teacher survey with the help of Joe's push. We got 100% teacher response on the survey. So it was awesome. So then on the next slide, there's just some results that I also wanted to highlight. I thought it was important to point out one of the questions, how comfortable are you in promoting the mental health of all students in your classroom? Not a single individual who took the survey said that that was not their role or job. So everyone has some basic understanding and some comfort in addressing mental health within the school. And then the beginning of year 4, we onboarded our new school social worker, Dasan. He is working primarily with the elementary students. And I'll let Heather touch on this one a little bit more since I was not able to attend, but Heather was asked to join NAMI in their education conference this
Yeah,
year.
it's a 2-day conference that a few of us were asked to speak. I talked a lot about Project Aware and how it connected to our school in NAMI and the whole piece coming together. So this was
What have always talked about? I'm just curious.
their mental health programs that they had somebody else scheduled. I pulled Lois in our neighboring school district because the other person couldn't make it. So she's like, she came in and talked about the different prevention programs they have at Columbia, and so that was good. And the other fellows from Buffalo.
Oh, I didn't hear that. So we also had an opportunity to do something a little bit fun, and we were able to do a trunk at the Boys and Girls Club this year for their trunk or treat event, which I didn't see that you were there. Heather and a couple other members of our team were there, gave out some mental health information as well as candy, obviously. Another pretty good turnout.
You give out the nice QR codes that go to our website, so
Yes.
they were excited to check those out.
And then she'll skip it, but there they are.
There we
Super
go.
cute trunk. It was great. Something new that we had just rolled out, our first one came out in October. Many of you probably have seen it, received a link for it. We are trying to do a monthly e-newsletter to keep everyone informed on the different initiatives that we are doing, different things through Project Aware, community events, and it's just kind of a nice way to highlight students, staff, the different stuff everybody's doing. So we plan on doing more training in year 4 because mental health training never stops. As I mentioned, we did PACS with all of our teachers. We want to do a PACS partner training, which again will be a train the trainer type opportunity for sustainability purposes. They offer a free community training that we've been looking at. This would be done with other community agencies such as the Boys and Girls Club, individuals who work with children, just trying to keep that common language across from school to after school to the different things that the students may be doing. We have Mike Fonda from St. Peter's Crime Victim Services coming in to do body safety in February.
March 2nd and 3rd. Yep.
March, with the elementary students. We had Jen Maley Wheeler come in once already and do an LGBTQA+ training with half of the staff, and then on the 22nd, she is coming in to train the other half of the staff. And we plan to try to highlight and do some more parent trainings this year as we've realized that's kind of an area that we need to step up. And then outside of training, we are looking to do common corners in our self-contained and all ed classrooms. We would like to do another week-long thing for Children's Mental Health Week since last year seemed to go so well. Obviously, the sustainability piece that I talked about, trying to get more of those train-the-trainer opportunities and ways to sustain the programs. We're hoping to do 2 speaker events this year, similar to what we did with Dr. Karen Pepper last year. We are looking into It's Real, Teens and Mental Health. That is another suicide prevention and awareness type program where you can train in-house, train school staff, and provide those trainings to students that way. And then universal screening is another area that we've been looking just to kind of support our students on all levels. And that's all I have. Questions?
Really, not one question? What was the climate training referring to?
The when I was discussing PACS and how that's supposed to be a climate shift. So PACS is this initiative to kind of create a common language throughout the school. So rather than going with like more disciplinary language, like please be quiet, which is also not very disciplinary, but rather than going that way, it's use your PACS voice, or is that a 1, a 2? They kind of try to take some of the negative language and shift it in a more positive manner.
And with all the prevention programs, there's always a piece of it to the climate. What you want to do is change the culture of your school. You want to push that out into the hallways, into the special areas, into wherever it can go, so that way everybody is talking the same language.
Thank you.
And it's probably important for them to know, like, for the Project Aware grant, it was, you're 1 out of 3 or 5 districts that got 5.
3.
3 that got
3 of the
chosen
state.
5 years ago in the state that got chosen for the project, so.
Yeah, and we all are in different spaces on the project.
Yeah.
We all have different initiatives, but in Rensselaer, we're the only ones that are reaching all kids K through 12. So yay for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Thank you, Heather, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And this is what I do during the day too, and I have to say this district is far beyond what other districts are doing. So I think this is a wonderful thing, and I appreciate the teachers and the faculty and staff being open to doing this, because there's resilience resistance other places, and I'm just happy we can do this.
Rather than the Catholic people push it.
Yeah, so thank you, I appreciate it.
There's been a lot of dedication since before implementation. Heather deserves quite a bit of credit over there for that, and everybody's been doing a great job.
Yeah, thank you. All right, next report, Jason Adams. I haven't met Jason.
Hello, I'm Jason Adams. I want to thank you, Rensselaer City, for making me a RAM. I'm excited to be here. Now just starting my 2nd month today, so thank you. It's been fun. I did student teach with that man when he was still in the classroom, Mr. Pitt. So I'm not foreign to this place, but I'm here to address the fact of some of the things I've been doing here in instructional technology. So on November 2nd, we had our Instructional Technology Day, where we provided 28 offerings to our staff. We had 14 different presenters come and do presentations. Some did 1. Then we had Jackie Schatt, who presented all day for us because she's a powerhouse. And it was really great, the offerings we had. And the feedback from our staff was pretty impressive. They liked what we had to do. The biggest complaints that we had were we didn't give them enough time to kind of play with the technology. Some of us offered that in the time we provided within that hour. The biggest feedback was they wish they had a follow-up session with the presenters to kind of reinforce that. And moving forward, we've taken that into account of how we would adjust our tech days moving forward. The other thing is we did try new technology to keep track of all our staff. That worked pretty well. Some of our staff forgot their swipe badges. We had a couple technical difficulties. It was our first rodeo, and we think we'd be better suited moving forward. Those were the biggest complaints. So I consider it a success. My second thing that I had on the report was the Veterans Day tribute. So for Veterans Day, our elementary teachers put together some amazing, with our students, the feedback, they had a whole slew of different things where some kids did a video tribute themselves and was compiled together to about an 18-minute video. Of that 18-minute video that we posted on our website and on Facebook, we had 166 viewers as of a few minutes ago. Some of those watched it multiple times. So I consider that a success. The feedback, I got pins and hair on my neck going when I saw these kids talking about the respect for the soldiers, their family members who went above and beyond, and how they want to be. And I'm like, you're only in 4th grade, but if you do, that's awesome, and I'll support you, and thank you for your service when it comes to that time. Talking about what I've now done with our staff. I've done a lot of different things, and a lot of it's learning the building and where I'm supposed to go at the right time, because the hallways are kind of similar here, but I'm figuring it out. We restart the technology committee. Tomorrow will be our first technology committee that we are going to restart. It's in preparation for the 2022-2025. Dave, what's that grant?
The instructional technology plan is due, yeah.
The plan is due, and we want to make sure that we are getting enough stakeholders involved in this scenario, and we will be reaching out to parents, staffs at that point to kind of help get us that, getting that information well-rounded. I was getting my feet wet, and I did deal with just a lot of overwhelming nature of learning everything at first, but we're starting first ones tomorrow. Part of my duties is to protect student data. And we, Dave and Mr. Kardash, worked on a process to protect student data. And our official recovering attorney, Michelle Narek, helped us in this process. So it was huge to do that, but now I have to test to make sure that they're not asking for student data after the fact we whitelist it. So I'm trying to streamline that and make it so we can get our teachers doing creative new things and allow our kids to learn and be on that cutting edge.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yep.
Real quick. Teacher says they want it. They send it to me. I say, looks good. Jason, test it. Jason tests it. We get it out to the students usually the same day, next day. Or I mean, out to the teachers and out to the students. So yeah, we're making sure that we're protecting our student data, but at the same time allowing those teachers to be innovative. So
It was cool.
sorry, go ahead.
No worries. Thank you, Dave. We just got Chromebooks for the 3rd and 4th grade. So part of that, to help instruct kids with technology and our staff with it, I became a Chromebook expert, helping getting the carts ready and getting them out so we could get them in the hands of our students so that way they can be doing and using those technology. The biggest complaint before is like, I want to do that, but I don't have it. Now we're trying to get that technology available out. We are waiting on some more Chromebooks for first and second?
First and second.
First and second grade. And talking about that, we did some iReady, which is their diagnostic testing. And it was my job to kind of help the kindergarten teachers learn, and with kindergartners to get them onto the Chromebooks. It was challenging. We learned the best time to do it's right after breakfast because they're focused and it just works the best. End of the day, does not work. We tried that twice and we were like, never again. But we got the kids on the task. We're going through, they're getting through, and I actually would borrow some of the kids and help them get through it. Some of it we had attention, others just weren't here due to absences. We got them all through the diagnostic for kindergartners for the reading aspect. And it was cool to kind of teach them Chromebooks. A lot of them actually knew how to use a trackpad, which I was really impressed with. And we got the touch screens. They can 2 modalities. And I'll be going into the library when we get back from Thanksgiving break and helping them learn how to use a mouse so that they can use the computers in the library. I've been working with Chris Johnson on collaborating on the social media mental health aspect. So we worked together to kind of get the first template that you saw that we posted on the website for our newsletter. We are also the only district in the Narek region, which Questar is a part of, that has somebody embedded in the class school to work with students on mental health. There have been trainings for teachers in mental health, which is essential, but there's a lot of mental health with students. And so we've been collaborating with NARIC, and we're trying to get some other schools who have people interested to figure out a better way and build our curriculum, because Chris is starting from the scratch on this, which is awesome. Sorry. Social media mental health.
We have lots of mental health help over here. That specific thing.
Social media mental health. Sorry, I'm not trying to step on toes over there. Thank you.
You're doing great.
But he's creating something new, and we're going to be rolling that out hopefully in the beginning of the third quarter. Chris is trying to build. We're finding resources. We're reading. We're in different books. We're collaborating with NARIC on their social media to try to provide the best that we can do right now for our students, and we'll be tweaking it and making it better as we move. I've been covering classes because we're sometimes short here, so I try to help out where I can.
Thank you, Jason.
You are welcome. Sorry, I am a country boy, but I never did a tractor. So, and moving forward, some of the things I'll be doing. Tomorrow, we're actually doing our first mystery meet in 4th grade, meaning our 4th graders are going to collaborate with another district's 4th graders and reinforce our geography of New York State. So, like, do you live by a river? They say yes or no, and if they say yes, they continue. And so this is an introduction to our New York State geography, and it's the same with the other district. And we'll be rolling that through all our 4th grade classes. I'll be assisting the after-school programs, doing some programming and some other things as well. And that's going to be starting right after Thanksgiving break. And before we head off to Thanksgiving, we are doing a Thanksgiving Day parade with our 3rd graders. And we'll be coming through this room. And we'll have a picture of the Macy's Day Parade in the background. They'll have balloons that they've made decorations they'll be going through. And then we'll be posting that also on our website and on Facebook. So, it's been a lot of fun. I've been learning a lot of different things. The people here are amazing, and I've been having fun. So I'm looking forward to the future here. So thank you again for the opportunity to present today and also work here.
Thank you, Jason. I wanted to go over a few things. The first one being in the budget status report, we had purchased digital radios. As of January 2022, analog radios will be obsolete and there will be no more. We operate with, by radios, I mean like walkie-talkies that we use within the building and on the buses. Those will be obsolete, so we need to upgrade and we need to do it now. We had obviously put this off for as long as possible, given that it is a costly expense, but it is a necessary one. So you will notice in the budget that we're spending about $60,000 on bus radios and district radios, and it has to be radios that read with each other, so that the district radios will also be able to listen in with radios of the bus. I had started to make a list of our state and federal grants to give you an update of where we are in the approval process. And in talking with Joe and thinking about, we have some new faces on the board, I thought it would, and we have some new grants. I thought it would be beneficial to review with you on a high level. I'm not by any means going to go through this list that I provided you in great detail, but to at least provide you with a high level of what grants that we have, what is pending, and how much, and a tidbit about what each is. So if you bear with me, I'm going to go through that list. Please stop me if you have any questions. So we have over $7 million in pending and existing grant funding. That's in addition to our existing general fund budget of about $27 million. So we have the Coronavirus Response and Relief Act. That's federal stimulus funds to support our return to school, including district facilities and operations. That's $1,195,000. And you heard me talk about that in connection with our stimulus funding. Next, we have our extended school day grant, which is $320,000. And that is just what it says. After school programs, we have in-house programs. We also are working with some partnerships, including the Boys and Girls Club and local colleges. Meg, was that 1 year?
3.
That was a 3 year.
Actually, extended school day is 5.
5?
Yes,
Okay.
5 years.
Remember.
$320,000 for
5 years.
We have IDEA 611 and 619. IDEA is Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. We've received that for many years and is geared for our special education students. We have, 611 is $387,000, 619 is $15,000. Title I School Improvement Grant, that's $250,000. That's funds for targeted districts to develop a plan to meet progress goals in district comprehensive improvement plans and school level improvement plans. We've had that for several years now. Those are the grants that we have received approval on thus far for 21-22. We are still waiting on
on many more for the approval, but we are slowly seeing them come through. The first one is the American Rescue Plan Act. There's 90% portion, that's federal, that's $2.6 million. And that's for improving academic achievement, closing the gap, learning loss, many of the things that I've already discussed in our board meetings. Universal pre-K is $336,000. That's a pre-kindergarten program, including an early pre-K, 3-year-old program, and this addresses student and community need. Project Aware, we heard a significant amount tonight, $420,000, and that's also a 5-year grant. Statewide pre-K for $180,000. That's pre-K programming in partnership with local programs and institutions, including Head Start. Title I, $363,000. That's federally funded program that provides for schools with high percentages of low-income students. Title II, $50,000. That provides additional supports to strengthen quality and effectiveness of our programs. For us, we use that to reduce classroom size. Title III is designed to improve the education of English language learners, and we do exactly that with it. Title III is $35,000. Title IV is $26,000, and that's designed to increase school capacity. And for us, we use that for AIS, for advanced instructional services, or assisted instructional services. And then we are working on newly released applications for grants. The first one is the American Rescue Plan, and that's the state portion of the allocation. That's $700,000, and that is directly related to learning loss. So we'll see that used for extended school day, summer education, extended school year, and of course the learning loss portion. And they also released 611 and 619 IDEA American Rescue Plan funds for $75,000. Again, that goes for special ed needs. And lastly, they just recently released this Title I School Improvement Enhanced or Advanced amount, and that will go to continue to support the programs under the School Comprehensive Education Plan. Okay, so that was a lot of information, a lot of numbers. Any questions that's specified about anything that I've said, any of the grants?
I think it's great, Megan. I always worry about sustainability, so it's just, it's always a question. I mean, 3 to 5 years seems like a lot, and it's the end of it. And
well, and that was a huge question, especially with the American Rescue Plan.
Right.
I mean, we're getting close to $3 million, but that all has to be spent and accounted for by 2023. So there is a funding cliff. So we have to be able to plan for that and account for that accordingly, which is why it's so important when we are applying for the grant funds that we are very thoughtful about those years subsequent to the ending of the grant. It's a very valid point. Any questions?
Not right now. Yeah, thank you.
Sure, and you guys have the extended list of the grants and the dollar amounts, so if you'd like any more information, feel free to reach out.
I was just trying to pull it up on my phone and I got a new phone and realized it's no longer connected to the Wi-Fi. So I was like,
I'll help you after, Jen.
Yeah, we are managing and juggling with a lot of the grants between federal and state.
A lot.
I just want to point out that there's a number of grants that the business office is managing, and the complexity of trying to get the most out of them without overlapping and not getting what we can out of them. The complexity of managing all of that is falling directly onto the business office like an additional job.
Yeah.
And they've been handling it really well. It's tough to sort out and describe to people, well, this could fall into that grant and that could fall into this grant. And what can we do in ways that we don't throw off our sustainability? Because if you take away the grants that are going to go away, some of those stay. Our title grants and our IDEA grants, they're there annually. That's what they do. The stable ones are there. But when you have this influx of money and then it goes away, there's a trap to fall into that you have long-term money and you're sustainable. And we have a funding cliff that we know is there. And we just heard from the auditor last month to know that beyond that funding cliff, we still have not equalized our spending and our revenue. So we have to be very careful about how to use that. And the job that they're doing is phenomenal to set us on the right path.
I mean, this is like a massive list. I just can't even imagine
Yes.
managing all of that.
It's a lot to
so.
juggle, and I'm glad you brought it up, Joe, because, we do need the assistance of the entire staff in order to manage it. So when teachers are doing after-school tutoring, or teachers are doing after-school programs, or they're purchasing supplies for a program, we have to ask a lot of questions, because we have to make sure that if we can attribute that to the after-school program grant, we want to do that.
Right.
You don't want that coming out of the general fund.
Mhm.
So it really is a matter of managing all of that and ensuring that we're gathering all the information that we can.
Mhm. And so you have communication out to them regularly about, hey,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I can only imagine. But yeah, that makes sense. Thank you so much.
So, you're welcome. It's my pleasure. This is a good thing to have. Good funds and a lot of programming that we can provide to the students.
Mhm.
It's just, it takes a lot of work on the back end
Right.
to make sure they're managing it, so that we can continue to gain these funds too.
Mhm.
Last thing I wanted to mention, and this is the same theme every month, our contracted transportation routes and costs continue to go up. We are losing bus drivers, one by one. So we've already added an additional route to our Star and Strand contract, which you guys are approving tonight. So of course, that contracted budgeted line has increased,
Can we just
the
deal with that?
expenditure portion of it. And then we do anticipate, as more students move into the district, are enrolled, as things change, as needs change, we anticipate adding more routes to those contracted runs. And we do continue to seek out the relationship with CDTA. Of course, there's a lot that goes into that, so Joe and Chuck and I are working on the details associated with that. So more to come with the CDTA relationship.
Related to the cost of the Star and Strand contracts, is there a way to incentivize maybe the pay that we offer drivers to, would we end up saving money by doing that versus contracting out with Star and Strand? Or have we looked at alternatives that way to make Rensselaer City School District more attractive to full-time bus drivers?
Yes. So first, when compared to other districts in the area, we are equal, if not better, in our rate of pay for school bus drivers. We are currently in negotiations with the CSEA, and we're hoping to increase to be able to accommodate the needs that we're seeing right now in today's day and age, so that it will attract bus drivers. There is funding that has become available and under the CARES Act, which is general fund. That's why you didn't see it on this list, because it's actually general fund money. It's not under the federal fund, special aid fund. That could potentially allow us to incentivize. It's something that Joe and I are exploring and working out, so I can't give you the details on that, but the short answer is yes.
It takes special people to be a bus driver, so we thank them.
And it takes time and it's a process.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, we have to hire Star and Strand. We have to find other relationships.
And is that
But if we
contract
get-
flexible? Is the contract written in a way where you have to engage them for a fixed period of time, or if we're able to hire more bus drivers, we can sort of renegotiate that?
Ensure that the one sentence that went in there is that we are able to reduce or add. So
Okay.
so they know that if we find bus drivers and we reduce, they're fully aware of that. Which was critical during COVID, because that sentence was in the contract. We, unlike a lot of other school districts, were not obligated to pay our contracts with Star and Strand because we could reduce when we weren't bringing students here.
Nicely done.
Yes, thank you.
To the tune of six figures, nicely done.
Mhm.
That was a very important line.
Thank you.
Sure.
Dave, you're next.
Okay. I'm just gonna leave the camera pointed at you guys. So, just want to talk about our one-to-one status. Jason talked a little bit about it earlier. Grades 3 through 12 have one-to-one Chromebooks. The third and fourth graders have them here in school. I think I've talked about this before. Grades 1 and 2 have 24 Chromebooks at each grade, plus a couple carts that kind of roam around. We're hoping that Emergency Connectivity Fund Round 2 gets approved, and we can give all those first and second graders their own Chromebook to stay in classrooms. If they've been sent home and forced to go remote, the device that third and fourth goes with them. First and second graders, we've got a pool. We're sitting there. We take them down to the elementary office, and they get them home with those kids. We also have some iPads available at the pre-K and K. And like I said, we're hoping for ECF Round 2 to get approved. Thought you were about to start clapping. I heard your bottle. It's like crack. Okay. Joe sent out an email recently that had reference to the digital access survey that we are required to ask parents to fill out. It is done inside of School Tool. So to get to it, you have to log into School Tool and go to user defined. There's directions that he sent out there, pictures and everything on how to get to it. That survey, and Joe may want to talk a little bit more about this, that survey may help us, be identified as needing more money for digital access. We're talking, it's the same info we've collected several times before via Beds Day, via the survey we did last year, but they want this, data warehouse wants this data. It's basically, do you have a device? Do you have access to the device? How, what kind of device did the school give you? Are you using your own? Do you have good internet at home? Those types of questions. It's very short, but you do have to get to it through School Tool. If you have issues and can't get on, you need us to reset your School Tool password. You just need us to walk you through the survey, call the help desk.
David, my correct to say it really needs to be on a PC, that you can't do it on your phone?
There's actually in the directions that we sent out, it talks about that right at the top. You can do it on your phone if you go to the schooltool, schooltool7.nearc.org, whatever, and then hit go to full site. You can't do it on the app, and you can't do it on the mobile site, which is kind of stripped down. You can't get to that user defined portion to bring that up. So if you go on your phone to the School Tool site, down in the bottom left, there's a little thing that says go to full site. It's hard to do on a phone. I'll say that. Lots of things are hard to do on that little screen compared to a PC or Chromebook or Mac or whatever. But it can be done, but it's not easy. And anybody that takes the time to do that, we really appreciate it. And the last thing I want to mention is when you're thinking about that digital access survey, people out there who need help paying their internet bill or don't have it, remember that emergency broadband benefit program is out there that could help for now to help you pay your internet bill. It doesn't have anything to do with the school. You go to the website, you apply for it. We'll help you find that if you want. We've sent out stuff. It's on our webpage, but it may be hard to find. Again, call us. We'll help you find that if you need it. That's all I have.
Thank you. How are we doing with repairs and breakage?
Better, slightly better. We've been able to get some more parts in and do some repairs. The big problem we had with one model of Chromebook, we actually got Lenovo to acknowledge that it is a large problem with not more than just us, and they've got a couple of our devices, and they're going to attempt to find a path to repair those. They have made no promises, but at least they took a couple of our devices to try to figure this problem out. We still have about 30 of those devices that are out of commission right now.
Well, hopefully as the kids have them every year, they just get more responsible with taking care of them too.
That is the hope, yeah.
Hi, Michelle.
How are you? I'm Michelle Jones. I'm the Shared Data Protection Officer. You share me through Patrick and goes to Derek. I'm also a recovering attorney. I'm trying to be a school administrator. And I am actually interning with Rensselaer City School District on Joe's team. So thank you for having me.
PowerPoint's
again
actually up,
tonight.
if you want to bring it up on
As
PowerPoint.
promised, we are going through the survey responses from the survey we handed out at the last board meeting. Sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not
Much better.
technically able. So Jason is helping.
We got you.
So we had 7 questions. We had 12 attendees respond. The majority of the responses were positive. This is raw feedback, okay? It has not been vetted, and I have attempted to, not summarize, but write verbatim what the comments were from the community on the surveys. So, it's uncensored. Here we go. Question number 1, we have events for our community and encourage a partnership for learning. 9 positive responses. And then you'll see out in the quotes that's the community feedback. It depends on the event, okay? So what we're trying to do is get, sort of a gauge and see how the community feels connected to us in Rensselaer City School District. Number 2, our community is provided with sufficient opportunities to become partners in learning. There were 8 positive responses here. Here's the community feedback. I don't see many community opportunities in learning. Local history is not part of the curriculum. And actually, this is very rich in history here in Rensselaer City. Some people were not sure, and then others just recognized it's kind of tough to be doing this through the pandemic, through COVID. Our school has sufficient clubs, activities, and events to help students become engaged and connected to the school. We had 10 positive results out of the 12 responses. We have started offering a variety of activities and clubs for different personalities. Again, this is community feedback. Somebody wasn't necessarily sure. That was an unsure answer, sort of perhaps. Maybe we could do more, maybe. We provide programs so that families can help their children learn. We had 8 positive responses. Again, feedback. Without a child in the school district, I get no information. And then also, what are the programs that are available? And then for our high schoolers, it would be great to offer time for parents to come in with their child to their scheduled choices. So perhaps sort of a parent can experience what the child is experiencing in the classroom to help their children learn at home. So number 5, our school partners with community agencies to bring services or enrichment to our students. We had 11 positive responses. The community feedback, I never hear of any community school joint functions.
I sing on, I don't know, no.
I feel like that's all I do.
Remember, these are completely uncensored and raw and just taken directly from the survey responses. Nobody has really seen them before now. We're going to talk about this again and again at our board meetings. So as a school, we invite the community and our families to offer input on the direction of our school. We had 8 positive results. Very approachable administration. And I think that's the point of this, is to try to get our community to engage and come in to our school and approach our administration. I've never seen an invitation. More information needs to be sent to the public. The only newsletter received is on budget. Website offers little.
Guess you haven't been on a website.
No.
7, this was an open-ended question. How can we improve, our schools to better meet the needs of our students that we serve? One concern I have heard an increase of children vaping and smoking in school. From my perspective, I am a school attorney. Before COVID, we had another pandemic, and it was vaping in our school district. So before COVID, there was vaping. We're aware of that, I think, as a school community. I know certainly Rensselaer is aware of this. Sometimes there seems to be no repercussions. Kind of that privacy, prevents us from sharing repercussions sometimes. That's just my opinion as an intern, okay? That's an issue. Also, children are bullying others at an increased rate with lenient consequences. These need to be addressed and taken more seriously. A little typo, I forgot to put my end quote. Okay, hold school board meetings on another day besides the 3rd Wednesday of the month. Conflicts with common council meeting and people are forced to choose, not transparent to taxpayers. For school and community to be able to work together easier, the dates of the school board meeting should change since they occur at the same day and time as city council meetings. I can see that I'm not perfect, I have typos, forgive me. Okay, we only had 3 written results. So what are our next steps? Really, to reflect on the results as a team. We're all a team, we're a community, we support our students. And so that's why we're having an open conversation. We hope to get honest dialogue, honest feedback. So that is the result of our first community engagement survey. There will be more. So please come, take the surveys. We find that the feedback is very, very important to our school community. So again, thank you. Thank you for letting me intern. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
For the consequences of bullying and vaping and smoking, there is a lot of that among the children and everything. I'm afraid that it will get to the younger kids as the 5th graders, as they go on to be middle schoolers and high schoolers. How can we more prevent that from happening? Because it seems like there's not a lot of prevention happening for younger kids to get influenced by it.
Good question. That is a great question. Is it Joe?
We have so much expertise here tonight.
We do pay for extra services for that too, so.
We do. So Too Good for Violence, Too Good for Drugs is that primary prevention program in the elementary school that we do focus on drug prevention. And then as we move into the middle school and the high school programs as well.
We actually have a person on.
Although that is not the end all and be all, Ally, and you're absolutely right. The more you can do, the better off you're gonna be. So that's a great question to add.
So I'm curious about the timeline on the sort of follow-up on some of the feedback that you've received, because I've also heard from the community that it would be very nice to have the school board meeting, the board meetings actually occur on a different evening during the week than the common council meetings. And so I would love to see, us follow up, but across the board on sort of some of that feedback. Is there a timeline, or how does that work? Because usually, obviously, you're taking surveys so you can make other things better. So do you have a timeline for that, or how is that working?
Actually, we're at the beginning
Okay.
of our efforts to gather this feedback. I would say, I won't speak for Joe. I don't know that he's got a timeline necessarily. But we will continue this. We'll give a report out at the end of the school year. There's a lot that we can do as a community. We could have a community engagement committee, and I know we have a lot on our plates, but that is really one good way for us to get out there in the community and continue this conversation. So no timeline per se, but that's not to say there can't be a timeline, but this is definitely the beginning of that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I also think I could mention that we do contract for services. We have a full-time staff that does the substance abuse prevention for our district, which most districts do not have. So we are in a great position to have that. But maybe we need to take a look administrationally wise and using this person to do some policy stuff too. Because I'm sorry, but I don't know your name. So
Alexander Pagan.
So Alexander mentioned, what can we do more about some of the vaping or some of the other things that are happening? Let's take a look at our policies and procedures too, and are we following through with some of those things? And I think that Teresa, who's our staff that we contract with, probably could help with some policies and procedures, and that might help a little bit.
Quick question, is there only one board meeting every month? Instead of doing once every month, have you, because every Wednesday, or once a month every Wednesday, do one in the beginning of the month and one at the end, because the people who can't join in the beginning would like to be followed up at the end to see the results that you guys did per month, or try to focus on the things that you guys could have done in that month. It also helped for the community to understand what the whole entire school could do with the community, as well to invite them in here instead of doing once a month if that is possible.
I'll address that. Because there's an uncomfortable elephant in the room, right? We all work, we all come to after school activities, we come to games, we come to dances, we attend community events. The board members are all volunteers, right? And all of the administration, you see everybody who reports here works during the day and gets no extra money to come and take a night away from their family. To schedule another one every month would affect everyone who you just saw present, their family, and all the families that are involved at this side of the table. I personally, I'm here all the time anyway, but that, I have to respect other people's time too. And I would say that if you start to understand that, this is the best attended board meeting we've had in a long time. Usually we have about 4 or 5 people here that aren't presenting or less. The interest typically wouldn't justify that level of time commitment. However, if our board meetings remained at this level of attendance over the course of the remainder of the year, I'm sure that consideration could be there because the community interest would justify the time commitment by other people. Does that make sense?
I'd like to add to that. I was sitting here thinking how much I enjoy your enthusiasm. I have been on this board for probably, 11 years. Up until this past couple of months, the people sitting in these seats are usually the ones presenting and not the community. So it's nice to see people from the community here. Having meetings the same night as the Common Council meetings has never been an issue because nobody comes to our meetings. So it's nice to see people here.
Wait, I come.
Well, yeah, I mean.
I've been here for 3 years.
People who go to Common Council meetings would like to come to board meetings, but haven't because they prioritize that versus coming here, so that's a possibility as well. It is. Fortunately, we have, I think, people recognizing that they feel that there's a need to be.
Oh, I agree.
Maybe they're splitting their
Which is
time.
why I started with, I appreciate your enthusiasm.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes, I have a question. Where was these surveys administered?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, we handed them out at the last board meeting and collected them back at the last board meeting. But there's going to be other opportunities to participate in the surveys. We wanted to give the results before we resurveyed our community, so that we can get feedback, and certainly we're interested in hearing your feedback. If not on these questions, on anything that you might want to bring forward. I'm sure everyone should know that Joe's got an open door policy and is available anytime to receive feedback. But certainly, please come back because we will be resurveying the community.
I do agree with a lot of what people had said though about the school board meetings being on the same night as the council meetings, because a lot of the people that are in this room right now this evening do go to the council meetings and then they're not able to go to the school board meetings and they'd like to attend both. But unfortunately, they've just been going on for this, the same night every month for a long time. And, so that's a concern as well.
This feedback is so valuable, and I'm just so glad we can have an honest conversation about what you're thinking and what could be frustrating you out in the community. So please, please come back because we will.
So since we're just getting an uptick in community engagement, I guess I'm just wondering why the survey design apparently was supposed to be like the survey is happening with the community at the board meetings, where maybe we're not actually reaching as many community members as we possibly could. I love the idea of a community engagement committee, but I was just curious what the thinking was behind doing the surveys at the board meetings. I'm rewinding my brain, trying to go back to your first few slides, and it's not there. So just, it probably, for me, it's not there. It was probably on the slides.
Judy, I'll answer that one.
Okay.
So we're conceptualizing how to get public feedback, right? And one of the things we wanted to do was take the survey and do a small test. Let's throw it out there, right? That it wasn't this survey or a version of this survey will go out to the larger public. What we wanted to see was, did we shape it right? Should we reword things?
That's what
Was
I
it
did.
confusing?
I'm like, wait, we're only surveying us.
We use the live people here as a test for that. We're also cautious not to overthrow surveys at people because then they quickly get deleted.
Yes.
I want to go back and reemphasize, I put out an email today to our parents, and we really need them to hopefully engage and take that survey because it could affect funding down the road. This survey is quasi-anecdotal and feedback, but it doesn't actually potentially equate to dollars. It equates to hopefully public engagement.
Absolutely.
The other one that I put out equates to dollars, and I really want to emphasize that. We wanted to make sure before we start putting more surveys out to the public, we prioritize them and we don't waste anybody's time. So it was just utilizing the people in the room as a test bed.
Yes, okay, gotcha, it was a test. back to the one that will drive some funding, I was going to ask you about the, just sort of brainstorming and how to make sure we can get that to as many parents as possible and, quickly. And, we can maybe talk about that now or another time, but certainly I'd like to help with that.
That survey is a statewide survey. It was provided to us through School Tool. It's not anonymous. It ties directly to the student that you log in with.
Okay,
So I put it out through email, text, Facebook, and website, which is
Yes.
our 4 major
right, so they
outgoing.
have it in every place that
Everybody
they're
has it, but-
receiving, okay.
Most people that see survey go delete.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I
I
mean?
saw a survey and was okay. I saw School Tool and said, oh, how do I get on that? That's what I said.
Right.
A question, for parents that have more than one child, do you have to answer the survey for each child that you have through School Tool?
They want you to. But
So
that
you
doesn't-
may want to put that out because parents may say, oh, I answered the survey, I logged into School Tool. And it was not clear that you need to log on per child to answer that survey.
Okay. I will put that in my reminder that I will put out in 2 more days, and then maybe the reminder I put out 2 days after that. So we're really trying to push that one survey right now.
Right.
Sarah?
Yes, I noticed you guys spent a lot of time talking about vaping and discouraging kids from vaping. Are you also encouraging them from nicotine, tobacco, alcohol, other substances that, you know what I mean, that they're gonna come in contact with, you know what I mean? I think that's important to teach your kids. And I have a tenant downstairs, I have a child that goes to the school. And, when I was younger, there was Dare and McGruff or something, you're the dog, the crime dog, but, I think something like that might be appropriate too, so, instead of.
All of the preventative measures that we talked about are all not vaping, they're substance abuse measures.
Good,
All the
good.
proactive, all of the programs, the staff member that she brought up, everybody, it's substance abuse broadly, like you brought out.
Yeah.
Prior, we had our SRO was trained as a DARE officer. We just switched SROs. That training will happen again so that we can continue that
No,
program.
maybe a child would think vaping is bad, I'll just get cigarettes, and there's always a way.
Sure.
Maybe
I
it's,
think vaping comes up because it's a hot topic right now.
Right.
oh, yeah,
Everybody
yeah,
talks
yeah,
about
tobacco
as
is
a
much
whole.
worse.
Yes, exactly.
So,
And healthy lifestyles, yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a question about back to the survey, the digital, whatever?
Yeah.
So the questions were do you have reliable internet? Do you have a device? Do you have this? Do you have that?
You did it.
But I looked at it. I read it. So if people, that's a survey asking about internet, what if they don't have internet and they don't have devices? How are they gonna answer the survey? Do you have a plan for
Thank you.
that?
There are paper methodologies to do that, but we're starting with the digital to try to get as much info as possible. The state has recommended kind of a formula to go get the information. We're following that formula. We're really just asking for parent engagement when it comes to that. I think what you find is the vast majority of parents have at least a cell phone, and they get those things, or what? Or kids have a Chromebook. They're
It really wasn't that hard on phone.
right.
As long as you do the mobile.
You just have to take the commitment to actually click through and follow the instructions.
And it's the same way to get to the clever badge or
Yep.
whatever, user defined. Then looking at me like.
Thank you for getting in there. Just make sure you hit submit.
I will.
Thank you.
We pre-answered a bunch of the questions, the very top ones for grades 5 through 12, because we know they have devices. So the first couple questions might already be answered for you.
Tried to make it as easy as we could, even though it's cumbersome because you have to log in because it's not an anonymous survey. It gets tied to your student data for the state. This is a required on their part.
Okay, any other questions?
Thank you, Michelle.
No, thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Jack.
Yeah, I just want to hit a couple of highlights here. I do want to start, it's not on the sheet, but I do want to start by recognizing our transportation department. We all know the shortage of drivers and what they've done this week just to get kids to and from. We have drivers that are going out 3 and 4 runs just to have students getting to and from school. So I want to recognize their commitment and dedication for doing that. And I also want to kind of piggyback on what Jason mentioned earlier with the Veterans Day Assembly. Want to recognize him and Dave for helping out in terms of getting that out, but also Mrs. Nixon, who annually for at least 20 years pre-COVID has always organized in-person Veterans Day assemblies, and certainly hopefully next year we can get everybody back in the building. But it was a great presentation. I even shared it with my own father, who's a veteran, and said, you know, this is the best tribute I've ever had. So kudos to them for a nice job on that. I also want to talk a little bit about our after-school program. I touched on it last month. We had about 40 kids participate in the first session. We're going to start up another one at the end of the month, so hopefully we can increase the participation. With that, obviously an ELA and math enrichment type focus, blending in some other activities. But really important to try to get more participation. It is a great way to help kids catch up a little bit. So hopefully we'll see an increase with that. And again, November is always recognizing Mrs. Nixon. I want to recognize her for organizing our annual canned food drive. I think we're fast approaching 1,500 cans at this point, but she kind of organizes that every year. So thank you to the community for their support with it. So hopefully we reach our goal. Certainly a good cause. I can't even remember if we actually were able to do it last year with the restrictions. So good to get some normalcy back this month. And then I also wanted to share, I shared it at the PTA meeting as well. I want to recognize our teachers for their commitment and dedication, because in meeting with the local principals and talking a little bit about the opening of the school year and the challenges faced with regards to finding tutors for students that are remote eligible, finding teachers that can run those after-school programs. A lot of schools around locally are having a very difficult time finding teachers willing to do that. And that has not been a problem for us. We are able to run tutoring across the grade levels for students that need it. And we are able to run an after-school program just internally. So a real credit to them, and really an extension of what we saw from summer programming, where we had almost 200 elementary kids coming in with roughly 15 elementary teachers. And again, most other schools were not able to do that internally. So I think, a real credit to our teachers. The only other thing I wanted to touch on is probably stating, I think, the very obvious at this point. But after the first quarter of the school year, I thought it was good to just pull a little bit of data and kind of share it out a little bit. Kind of where are we? We have some pre-pandemic data. We have some data from this year. So I chose to pull some reading data from grades 2 through 5. So I kind of pulled, well, where were we in September of 2019 across grades 2 through 5, and where are we now? So not a perfect apples to apples, because it's not a cohort analysis. You're talking different groups of kids, but I think it's pretty clear. You can conclude the very obvious, the impact of the pandemic at this point. Just looking at grade 5 roughly, we're looking at on grade level or above grade level in September benchmarking for reading, using what I would say a very valid tool in Fontes and Pinnell, where it is one-on-one with a teacher, where the kid is reading part of the book, aloud, and then finishing it up, reading to themselves and then answering some questions. It's not a computer assessment. It's one-on-one. I believe it was about 75% were at or above grade level when we look at 2019 grade 5. Now we're at about 50%. So a flip of the coin. So, again, it's stating the obvious, but it's important for us to put it out there and actually see it's measurable. And we're seeing it across the board. It's not just in reading, right? We're seeing it in math, which, I think if you look at literacy skills, you're looking at a continuum of skills. I think when we think math, it's more concept driven. Certainly, if you don't have the foundational skills, it's very hard to move forward, especially in math. So it's not just specific to reading, it's on the math side as well. So how do we overcome this? I would say the starting point is we have to be patient. It's not going to be an overnight process. It's going to take us time to overcome the fact that in 2020, in the spring, most schools had a very difficult time adjusting to schools being closed and delivering effective instruction. And then when we look at last year, we look at Fridays being remote days across the board, and then we look at some kids, depending on, at least for a lot of the year, only getting in-person instruction 4 of every 10 days. So we were able to turn the corner by the end of the year, but a lot of lost instruction. So I think the challenge at this point and what the teachers are working hard on is how do you balance continuing with grade level standards and instruction, but also meeting students where they are realistically, which some of them are not on grade level, as you can see by the data. So the teachers are really working at that, having to reteach and teach a lot of prerequisite skills, but yet we need to keep them moving forward. So they're very focused on doing that, but it is very challenging to do that. We're certainly, Megan had mentioned AIS services and one of the grants. We are providing as much support to the students that need it as we possibly can. For most kids, if not all kids that need the support, it is an everyday support in reading and math. So hopefully we can start to catch kids up with that as well. We continue, I think Jason had mentioned iReady, that is a computerized program that's not only a diagnostic, like where are the kids in terms of their academic skills, but also features online instructional lessons that take the diagnostic and then gives them their own lessons at wherever they are. So with the increase in devices, we're featuring more of that in classrooms as well, but having kids try to catch up on some skills that they may have missed. And then you may have recalled in an earlier presentation, in grades 3 through 5, we do group the students by need. And I think that has helped us tremendously, where we're able to move students that might be a little bit more advanced. We can move them through with more rigorous instruction. More importantly, or just as importantly, we can target our supports that we do have. So we can really give the AIS reading and math to the kids that really need it instead of spreading it across all classrooms. So really just trying to do a lot of good things, at this point to catch kids up. But I'm going to just emphasize, I think, again, the obvious, it's going to take time. It's going to take beyond this school year. It's going to take our after-school programs. It's going to take a summer program next year where hopefully we get even more than 200 kids. Because that's the opportunity, I think, to catch up. There's only so much you can do in a 7-hour day. You can't ask an 8-year-old, how much more can you learn than what you've learned in a given school day? So I think after school and summer programs will certainly help with it. And then I think, again, parents at home, like as much as you can work with your kids at home, that's always been an important thing. I think it's even more important now. Sitting down, reading with them, working on the homework with them. Can you do something on the weekend? It's definitely a team effort at this point, but I just wanted to share that with everyone. Like I said, I think it's stating what we all know, but this is measurable. So that's all I had. I don't know if you have any questions. Yes.
Okay, so this is for the elementary, right?
Yes.
Okay, after school programs, are you talking about something like where they stay like longer periods of time? What I was talking to Mr. Pitt and Ms. Dazak about for the high schoolers is a homework club, where they actually stay and they actually get a snack in their free time, where they're elementary schoolers, so they don't really have a lot of focus capacity because they're little kids. So having a homework club where they can get one-on-one help, but overall help if 2 students are in the same class and they're focusing on the same thing. An after-school program like homework club would help a lot, which is also like for AIS and everything like that. If you could take that into consideration.
No, I think
because I have a younger sister that would need that.
I think that's a great idea, and we do. You get the snack, and they certainly get extra help in ELA and math, but it's not specific to homework. And I do know that if we can garner up a little bit more interest, we are looking potentially kind of along the lines of what you're talking about, trying to work with the Boys and Girls Club and see if we can send. We do have a number of kids that go down there, and they have their power hour, I believe, down there. Yeah. If we can maybe try to send a couple teachers to help out more like a homework club.
Used to do it with the YMCA.
Yeah, it's getting a little tight with people and their schedules and kind of being able to facilitate it. So we kind of started with, this program, but the extension to that is definitely looking at a homework club. So that's a great idea.
I'm so happy you're sitting up there. Do we have a way to engage, so some kids go home and they have a parent at home that can help do homework with them,
But there may be individuals who are retired that may be willing to like push into a Boys and Girls Club and could go through a homework packet that may not be a faculty and staff member here, but could we look for sort of community engagement so people that are retired could sit down and, you know, they could probably do second grade homework. Common Core math is a little bit different, I will tell you. But some ELA and some guided things, maybe there's another avenue that we could look to get this community support and get these kids caught up where their parents may not be able to help, which may be similar to a homework club. Because I think the after-school activities now, my son participated, just so much enthusiasm for that. We have participated in the summer program and the after-school program, and I cannot say enough of just the positive and elated spirit that came home throughout the summer and after school. And we are definitely looking forward to the 30th because the teachers just did a tremendous job. So
No, it's good to get that feedback, and I'm glad that was the experience. And I think we can look certainly at other areas to try to do something like that. I would say if anyone knows someone that is retired or interested, we could use substitutes and pretty much anything. Just let us know, right? And
We have
drive a bus too.
We have seniors that need community service hours, and we tie that into homework help after school, and that way we can guarantee for our kids get help and the seniors get their service hours.
they knew.
They've already done it, and they might, some of them
I'm
might
sitting
remember
here
it.
thinking about how much Emma would have loved
Right.
if she was still here to do something like that with the younger kids.
You can
And it doesn't even have to be the seniors, just the older kids volunteer.
Well, and she does the community service.
Right.
And you could branch it right through the government class.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can also check at, tomorrow night is the Friends of the Public Library meeting. And there's many retired people on
They would love it.
Yeah.
So I can bring that up tomorrow night as well.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks,
Yeah.
Amy.
Can you check and see if anyone want to drive a bus?
I'm not going there.
Just bring the applications with you, all right?
We'll train
Who
them.
knows there's a meeting like that.
I know Chuck's phone
Jeff,
number,
thanks
it's
for staying
fine.
laser focused on really what I'm focused on.
Yeah.
We need to talk about that too.
Dom.
All right, so I had a couple things. First was an update. It was November 11th. We did our first college trip to Sage College. I wanted to thank Joe was there, Brandy Sensing, and Chris LaBattaglia. All helped out to chaperone. So we get to bring some kids over there. Students participated in the trip. It was a great experience. They got to experience a meal on campus. I think that was their favorite part, getting in the cafeteria and eating. But then they got to go through the admission process, tour the campus, see the dorms, activities, and stuff that's available to the students. So it was really a great experience. They had, kind of mentors who were coming around, students that were at the school are coming around talking with our kids. So it was great to sit there with Joe and kind of sit back and watch the kids communicate with the college students, and they were answering their questions and stuff like that. So we are planning on making that a regular occurrence. We do have another scheduled trip for Saturday, December 4th. The first trip was in the Troy Sage campus. We'll be going to the Albany Sage campus for December 4th trip. Same type of thing. They'll get a meal. They are going to eventually try to pair us up with maybe an activity, whether it be a basketball game or a play or something like that. But, just a great experience for the kids. And it's open to anybody in grades 10 through 12. So if you're interested, contact your counselor, and we'd like to really, focus on getting our kids on those college campuses, so that was a great thing. Second thing I had was, unfortunately, we did have to do a remote day yesterday for 6 through 12. Thought it went very well. The teachers adapted to it well. The students adapted to it well. So there were a lot of kids on and engaged. It was awesome to get us back in the very next day. I want to thank our teachers also. We had about 5 subs that we didn't have coverage for today. So we were in the possibility of having to go remote. What happened is our teachers in the school, everybody stepped up and took an extra class to go around and sub in. And you know what I mean? They really helped out. I couldn't thank them enough so that we were able to be in the building today. So we were really touch and go with that. So big shout out to the teachers and staff who nobody refused an assignment. Everybody stepped up and took one. It was very nice. Along that same line, at the faculty meeting we had on Monday, we're trying to focus on positives. So a lot of times you hear a lot of the negatives that are going on. There's a ton of positives in the school today. So what we did on Monday, had the teachers come in, and we were trying to have them focus on positive referrals instead of negatives. So I saw a thing on students that inspire you to come into work. So we kind of use that as our theme. They're going to pick somebody, write a positive referral, tells the kid how, they inspire them to come into work. And, it's pretty emotional stuff, and nice for parents and for students to get that kind of feedback from the teachers. So
Especially at the older age.
yes. Yeah. So we're pushing that this week. We want to make sure that they get those in and get those out. And then the only last two things I had is we do have a half day on November 22nd, next Monday. So half day we'll dismiss at 11:45. Teachers have PD in the afternoon. And then the 23rd is a targeted parent-teacher conference for grades 6 to 12. So questions on any of that?
Just two things back on there when we're talking about college visits. Those things are all funded by the extended school day grant. The vision was to try to get students on college campuses and bridge the gap for students that may not be comfortable with college until they go and see a few campuses and realize it's not a foreign concept, and this is actually pretty cool, or they find what might meet their needs along the way. So it's a familiarity thing. Our hope is that we had, I think, 8 students participate because they didn't really know what it was. Our hope is word of mouth goes around that it was a cool day, and maybe we go from 8 to 16 to 30 or 40. That's the dream. That's the hope. Let's take a bus full. We have that funding with the extended school day grant, and getting our kids on campuses really lets them see beyond 12th grade, which is not always an easy thing when you're in high school. And we're trying to shine up that crystal ball for them and let them be able to see farther into the future. That was a great thing. And, based on what Dom said, we were 5 subs short. If any of those retirees don't want to drive bus, we take substitute teachers, please. Or 8.
You want to mention that?
Thanks, Dom.
Amy.
Sure, well, before I get into some of the things that I've had on my agenda, I just want to highlight some of the things that have been spoken about earlier. The Project Aware grant is something I was just so blessed to be able to walk into my position as the Director of Pupil Services with that up and running, and Heather has done an amazing job and really in spearheading and in supporting and all of those prevention programs that you saw up there. It's one thing to give people materials and say, here, staff, you've got the training, but I will say that the pupil services staff have gone in and provided extra layers of coaching and support to the staff. And, it's really been remarkable to see. And it's been nice for me because I kind of walked into something that was already up and running. And I just want to really highlight that. I work closely with Heather, and she's pretty amazing. I also wanted to highlight Jason Adams because I think I've tapped into him. He's probably spent like 50% of his time here directly working with me. I'm constantly calling up saying, can you come down and help me do this recording, send out this survey. So I can vouch for what a great asset to our district he has been so far. So, but getting on to my agenda here, I wanted to first highlight we are continuing our efforts to conserve paper and to be more, efficient in our resources and time resources as well. And so the special ed department has moved to using software that we already own. Our frontline IEP Direct software has some additional features that allow us to share in a secure way student information, progress reports. Usually we send them home quarterly, and it's printing a bunch of paper and stuffing it in envelopes and mailing it out. And so we are doing that electronically now. This is the first year. So the tool is called the Collaboration Portal. I sent out an email the other day just letting parents know that, that information would be coming to them in a different format. I think we have great opportunities to use it. I think what parents will like about it even better is that there's an opportunity to use it for getting electronic signatures. So in our special ed world, we have to send out a lot of consent to do this, consent to do that, and it's a process of sending out the paper and getting it back. And some parents don't have access to a scanner, so they can't email it back, and then we have privacy issues. So this is a feature that will probably take a little getting used to, and I've heard from folks, that there's always a learning curve, but I think it's actually pretty user-friendly, and it does work great on a phone. I sent stuff to myself to test it out, and it's, I think, pretty user-friendly. So open to hearing feedback, but just wanted to let people know that's a great, I think going to be a great asset. The other is that we're going to be looking at purchasing the document repository feature of our software system through Frontline so that we can do more of our storage of special ed documents electronically. And it's not just about the storage, it's the retrieval, which means you don't have to go into the file room and find the file and pull the file and copy the file and scan it. So these are things that I think maybe a little nerdy, but will definitely help us conserving time, energy, and paper. The next I wanted to say, I've been getting out and doing observations in classrooms and finally getting out there again and seeing students and teachers. But I really resonate with a lot of what Mr. Palmer has shared. And I'm hearing it a lot from our special ed teachers are used to doing a lot of differentiating of instruction for students with different ability levels because we work with kids with disabilities. But, that gap for both special ed and general ed students is certainly pretty significant. And it's really challenging for teachers to keep kind of reteaching and going back for the kid that was quarantined for 2 weeks and trying to catch them up and not lose more ground. And so I really want to, highlight the appreciation of the staff and the teachers who are cognizant of those needs and, trying to remain vigilant and positive about addressing all of those needs. But it's challenging and it's a lot for them. But I'm having some great conversations about teaching and learning, and it always makes me happy to finally get out into classrooms more and see more of our students and teachers doing great stuff in the classroom. I wanted to highlight the November PPS newsletter coming out. Lots of great resources in there, resources around community supports for families that might have some needs, but also highlighting some of the great prevention program that's going on. Every month, we'll try to keep putting in there little blurbs about things that parents might want to be able to tag on to. What are some of the topics that we're discussing in one of those programs that parents could kind of engage in some conversation with their own kids about or do some activities. So look out for that. Also, I think we had already mentioned it in the Project Aware presentation, but the diversity and inclusion professional development that we offered to the elementary staff at the last PD day, we're going to be able to offer to the high school staff coming up next week. And that's really focusing on developing a better understanding of how we support our LGBTQ youth. We have Jennifer Wheeler coming in from the Pride Center to do another presentation, and also our English language learner teachers presenting on the specific population that we have here in Rensselaer, students from Myanmar or Burma who have, some of them have language learning needs, or families that have language learning needs, and kind of better understanding of the culture and impact on schools. So those are some of the exciting things coming up. All I have. Anyone have questions for me?
I can just speak to the front line. It's very easy. Once the access code got fixed, because his birthday didn't work perfect, then it was very easy to access, read through everything.
Wonderful.
And I did it all on my smartphone. So
right, it comes up quite nicely on the phone.
Yeah.
Right?
I like it too.
Oh, good. I was hoping maybe you got in there too. Great.
Oh, good.
Great. Well, I'm glad to hear that feedback. I know it's a little, teachers have to get used to doing it in a different way, but I think that's gonna be good momentum after we get this. Thank you. Bill?
Hi, good evening. We're right in between seasons here, about to get started with our winter sports. High school started this week, modified will start next Monday. A lot of talk when the kids who has to test. Every student except for bowlers will be testing this winter. They're all classified, all our sports as high-risk sports. So starting Monday next week, our high schools will test. The second Monday of practice, the modified students will test, because up until that, they won't be around any other students from other schools. Bring it in. There's only 2 days next week. We'll get out all the information. They'll bring that back in. On that note, some thank yous from the fall. Joe, Jalen, Tammy did an awesome job getting everything organized, and we're kind of streamlining even more, knowing that we're gonna have more athletes coming up. Communication's been good, and they really did a great job with that, so thank you guys for that. We're working on all the protocols that'll be in place, spectator limits and masks and all the things that are gonna happen that we've seen at least once through already with having sports last year at a lower level, but now kind of ramping up. So we're working on that, and as soon as we have that all in place, not only for our school, but our league is working so that we know ahead of time, if I go to this school or that school, here's exactly what the protocols are. It'd be great if we could streamline it and it was all the same, but realistically, that's not gonna happen. Different counties, different regulations here and there. So working on getting a document so you can go right to the site and say, all right, we're going to Waterville tonight. How many people can go? What are the regulations, this and that? So it's all in one spot. It'll be easy to use. I'll put it out there via email, but then it'll also be a spot on the website. We should be able to go to it and find it. That note, please be patient. I think we learned over the last couple of years that even though that's going to be up there, it's only as good as being true in the second it's written. If something changes, we will get that out there, though. I've been working on, I know you saw through the fall, putting a lot of emails out. At least weekly, I'm working on, if not more than that. We should put out a text and say you have an email with some changes and put that there. So each week, by the end of the week, I'm going to try to get an alert out for, this next week. Here's what's coming up for events. Here's anything that's changed or, important information that you need to know. So I'm trying to put that out on a regular basis without seeming too annoying to get emails over and over, but it's important information that right now is changing a lot. So we need to know.
Will that go out to all people, not just the sports people?
Yeah, so what I've been doing is putting it out to everyone, and then you can kind of know the importance of it. If you have a student that has it, that's kind of the text. You got a text quick, right? I should go check my email because I just got more of the information there, but at least I get that information out right
Some
away.
of us just like to go, even though we don't have a kid there.
Well, oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that'll be out there. I'm sorry, the information on going somewhere. Yes, that'll be for everyone. Yeah, that'll be, yeah. Absolutely, I'm sorry. We did just wrap up fall, volleyball, soccer, cross country, all competed in sectionals. It was great to see our kids out there able to compete in sectionals. Had very good seasons, made us all really proud. Went up to cross country. It was awesome to see all the schools there competing together again in a, fairly normal setting. I think 3/4 of our team PR'd that day, so they were happy as can be. It was just a really good situation. Volleyball, soccer, competed really hard, lost close matches in both, but the kids had a great season all the way around. And just thank you to everybody who made the fall seasons happen. Coaches put in a lot of effort, maintenance, bus drivers, everybody. It was a really good group effort to make it seem a fairly normal fall season for our kids. So, thank you. Any questions?
All right. So Chuck's not here. He's been out sick this week, so I've had the pleasure of trying to be the transportation person over there. Well, we're not in a point, we're on cruise control and on a normal schedule. Chuck wanted to say, he did text me and tell me he's watching from home, so hi, Chuck. He also wanted to make sure that we thanked, and I echo this for working with the transportation department all week. We thank the drivers for going over and above and working together as a team to come up with solutions that are non-traditional and that require multiple runs or different drivers driving different things. Just a couple of anecdotal. We have a driver that broke his foot and convinced the doctor that he can't be taken out, so he has to wear his boot all times except for when he's driving. because he knows that our kids wouldn't be able to come in if he wasn't there.
Oh, man, God bless
You know what I mean? If we have other drivers that medically probably. We have other drivers that are sacrificing potential retirement benefits because they're making too much money by coming in too often.
Yeah.
And they're just like, I know the kids have to go to school, so I'll be there. We have other drivers medically shouldn't be coming in, or probably wouldn't be coming in by normal means, and they're like, I just know the kids need us, so they're here. So the drivers that we have, I will say, it's hard to find drivers, but it's hard to find, the ones that we have, it's hard to find more dedicated ones. So Chuck wanted me to make sure I said it, but I would say it proactively too. So that's Chuck's report.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck. The next one is Heather. We had a great question about the library earlier that week, and in talking with Heather, I realized that if we're going to have a focus on instruction here, and we have not shined enough of a light on what we do in the library, which is a hub of communication, of information exchange, and it's changing in its format. And our thought process was, if we're going to talk about the core of what we do here, we need to go shine a light on the library. So in a baseball metaphor, I'd like to say we're going to have a little bit of a seventh inning stretch. I'm going to ask the board to take a quick recess, and we're all going to take just a quick field trip up to the high school library so that Heather can show us where we've come, where we are, and where we're going in a quick field trip.
Do we get snacks?
Do we what?
Get snacks?
So you need a motion to recess.
Motion to recess to one more.
There's pizza in Joe's fridge.
All right, I'm on it.
Yeah, pizza in my fridge if you want.
Everyone's invited.
Everyone's invited, please come on up.
I was going anyway. I don't need an invitation, I just show up. Come on, ladies, we're going on a field trip.
Amy's gonna be asleep by the time we get up there.
I
Oh, guys, let's go to the library.
My office is across the hall from the library, I think I'll fit.
Field trips, we don't get those often enough. We're working on it. Experiential learning. Coming up? To the library? We got an elevator if you want one.
Okay. I'll keep them company.
All right.
You're leaving before the good stuff.
Yeah, I am, unfortunately. I'm leaving before you get to what I was here for. So that's a drag.
Well, I think we actually do that on purpose so that the people who come to talk actually get to see some of the good things that we do instead of, coming and presenting, those new items and then leaving and not seeing all those cool things that we're doing in the school. So it's a little bit targeted.
Not too bad, Tom.
I'm not gonna talk. I spoke 2 months ago. Got nothing new to say, so I'm not gonna waste people's time.
Take care.
See you.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I know it's streaming, right? I mean, not right now, but.
Oh, we're streaming right now.
Oh, still?
Yep. Yeah, I don't know
Does
how
that-
I would stop it and start it and not mess up the link.
Does it stay up, like, can I go back and watch it?
It's on our YouTube
I
channel.
couldn't find the
All
last
the old
one.
ones are on the YouTube channel.
I couldn't find the last one. Something about, like,
Your email address and I'll send you a link.
Like, I already got on that now, like, I if I can't find it,
Okay.
I'll shoot you.
Just look for the RCSD BOE channel.
Okay.
Yeah, find it. And then you know the help desk or to me. I've been trying to make sure that it goes in the playlist in the channel.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for the old ones, they are. But you know, it's just one of the.
No, and well, I tried to find it, because I thought that I found the old one. And then that's what I was doing, like, trying to find, like, the rest of them. Because I missed the
Back
last
when
one.
we couldn't, allow people here in
Yeah.
person, we were doing them on Facebook,
Yes.
because then we would allow, people to ask questions via the chat. And then when we started allowing people in, and we were able to do that. Joe said, let's move it to YouTube, that way, if they want to talk, you know, they just want to watch Facebook, here it is on YouTube, but we turned off comments and things like that.
Yeah.
We've seen some nastiness. And kids like it.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, my low tech setup works pretty good, you know?
Yeah, no, like, I watched it, the first one, the old one.
Oh, no. Remote. We haven't done this in 5 months. Everybody forgot everything they learned. I'm gonna be keep covering that. I had like one parent, one student, and 2 teachers called me with, something that was related to, oh no, we're remote now. And one of the teachers was, long-term something that wasn't even here last year. She was not out for it. I don't know how to do anything.
I was wondering
They
how
spent like 2 hours.
I was wondering how the attendance was.
I don't know how the attendance was, because I don't see, I can see that stuff, but I, there's other people see that, that's Mr. Faust. Yeah. Well, attendance for there's daily attendance and there's period by period attendance, at least on the junior high.
Yeah, my dog.
Daily attendance, everybody was here. Daily, but for period by period attendance, if you weren't in the meeting, you were marked as absent, and it's an unexcused absence. You must be.
So does the teacher like mark them, or is it,
Yes.
or is it like automatic?
No, the teacher has to go back and do it, but they can get, at the end of the, like, that Google Meet that they do for that period, they'll get a meet attendance report.
Oh.
So she'll kind of back them up and on. I can't remember. And I have, 15 to 20 screens in front of me. So the phone now, yes. So they'll get a meet attendance report, but they do have to go into school and go. It's automatically present, and then they'll absent, submit, done. So today, I see her she's in a class with 4 kids. Usually she doesn't let her work with the
I started doing the digital survey, and then I was like,
I had a dot meeting with all the other head geeks out there around the region. And some of them were talking about, oh, I don't know how to get the rest of the parents to do our survey where it's 70%, if you're at 70%. You're done, dude. Like, you get 70% of your parents. And your point earlier, hey, what if they, how do you ask somebody if they have internet if they don't have internet?
Right.
That's something we struggle with.
It was just like,
We struggle
to make come in and
well, we actually,
sign into it.
I actually, made a recommendation that we
handed them paper copies of the conferences. So we maybe do that. Yeah, but a lot of the parents that don't have internet or same parents that won't come to this.
How did you know to become?
It is what it is. I'm not gonna-
No.
It is what it is. We mostly have problems just keeping a good email address and phone number. Every time
Right.
Joe over the years, Tom, or whoever sends out one of those, full messages, I get a report that shows me all the invalid numbers and valid emails.
Like, I don't understand. Like, I, probably 20 years.
The mic is on. We are speaking and the mic is on.
Yeah. Don't talk about English, that's right. No, so, well, so I didn't really understand what the point of, like, I kind of, what the survey was, but like, I was trying to figure. Right. Well, so it was asking like, do you have a tablet, do you have a laptop, do you have, and I'm like, I was trying to think, like, I think I was overcomplicating it really, and like, because I'm like, well, we have a laptop, but she, like, we have a tablet, but she likes the tablet, she's like, I'm like, she likes the tablet for something, and she doesn't for the other things, and I'm like, so, like, and like, I hated the Chromebook.
Work. Yeah, you don't have them in first and second. But we also have Chromebooks, and very soon there will be in person second. Hopefully, we'll have them in the classroom.
Well, I
But
honestly,
we did by touch, at least.
honestly, she hated the Chromebook because it was too small.
Really?
For her, like, she, I don't know, she's not glasses, like, she was really farsighted, so like,
There's all kinds of
it was.
accessibility features for zooming and blowing things up.
But then it was, and then she has, she's got phones, so she. So, I mean, it's not a problem this year, because we tried to. But last year, like, during the year, it was a struggle, like, so we actually ended up at one point, we just went to my laptop, because it was a little bit bigger, and it was a touch screen, but then it was like, cool, like.
I was just showing you during that day, Zoom, there's two different types of Zoom tools, accessibility tools built in the Chrome. I can also, like this section is bigger, see, or you can drag it around and it's really big. So I was just teaching you how those things work.
Honestly, like, it was good that it was a touch screen, but it frustrated her because like, she'd use it and she'd like start to go and like, it's like, I'm a little sponge, how to kind of because she was trying to match things on the, and it was great. And she would down the back. I mean, it was.
Right, exactly.
I don't like the trackpads either, I like.
Yeah, it's perfect. But then on the tablet, she had an easier time for some reason, so. But then it was hard to get, couldn't get iReady on the tablet. I had to like, because I don't have an iPad.
It took me a while to get the features to understand. iReady on iPad does not work the same. It doesn't, I could just say it doesn't really work.
I mean, we won't talk about that. But we still, I think I could have encouraged it to on the tablet to work on that.
I wanted to volunteer, but they didn't want.
I don't know how we got to that.
Yeah, I could.
How's the library?
Well, I didn't make it up to the library. I ended up having a little informal parent meeting in the hallway, and I was trying to help direct traffic up there because Heather's like, I don't know if everything knows where to get there. I'm like, it's fine, I'll direct traffic, but then I ended up talking, and I'm like, well, at this point, I don't think I'm
I'm in there all.
all set with that. So.
Our news guy left.
No, no, it's all.
Was he from the? I mean, I know.
He's, I think he's one of those independent contractors.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I got footage, good footage from the Russell board meeting tonight, you know, you want to run it on the 11 o'clock noon? We've seen it before.
It's a lengthy meeting.
Yeah, I was just saying, I don't have to
Prepared
go.
for extended, lecture tonight.
I texted the babysitter and she sent me back a picture of them eating ice cream together, so like, I think they're good for now.
Right, right.
But I'm like, you know, calculating in my head. And probably
Well, I am feeling grateful that I had that last cup of coffee. It was the right thing
Yeah, I
to do.
was just in mind.
I did like that collaboration, whatever.
Well, I'm really glad.
I don't like it on my phone, but, like I send it from my
But now, well, but now what happens if I send that
Yeah.
consent form, literally.
Right, like that would be easier.
So easy, you click on the little signature thing at the top, you click it, put your wherever, you go, done, and it's like, I was like, oh my God. You know the amount of back and forth that we do just to get those, I mean, it's a lot.
I do, yeah. I mean,
And paper, whatever, it's like, it's, game changer. So.
I like writing projects.
Yeah, and then the parent that wants it can do that,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of parents that
Regular report card will come out.
aren't even looking, you know, like,
I know.
so if you want it, you have it, if you don't.
I was laughing because I actually got it before you sent your email out.
Well, that's because you have certain teachers that are, like,
Yeah.
I gave them until Friday to get them out, and I had given some tutorials and stuff, so I would, some
I wasn't
teachers are.
expecting it before Friday.
So some of them went out today.
Oh, some of them went
Yesterday.
yesterday. Yeah, and I sent my email like at the end of the day, but I think some of the teachers
Yeah, I
already
already
sent
got
them.
that.
Now that we're kind of good at the regular report card, turning it over to Tracy tomorrow. I've been doing report card back in your, so you gotta do it, they're back, you've got them back. And then we're both on Friday, so.
Oh, nice, nice.
Got a hole in my ceiling.
Oh, no.
I don't have any attic access in the house.
Oh.
It was in the plan when they built the house and they
Just
just
never
forgot to put it
yeah.
there, so. There's other
We have to get
That's
a,
what I'm doing.
I think that we host Thanksgiving at my house, first of all, we preface by that. And I don't disagree with my husband that we do need to address the plumbing issue that is in the living room, but the appointment is like Tuesday, and I'm like, really? Are we sure that's gonna be, you know, put back together in some fashion? I mean, it's not over the dining room, but it's the living room, and I'm like, you know, don't love the idea. But,
Right now, when you take a contractor, we can get the contractor.
that is exactly where it is, so I'm like, I think the fact that you got to commit to a date is kind of, you did take it, but I was like, really? It's like,
Oh, I'm gonna totally thank you when we get there. By the way, handyman, that door, we got some rot on it and.
What else?
A couple other
Take
things.
it and you have to the little stuff.
They won't, exactly, you have to have like,
And I gave, yeah, a couple of them, I gave a whole list of stuff I need done and. It's nothing, I'm like, really? I'm a computer guy. Give me a saw.
well, that's why we had like a bunch of things, and I was like, the money is, I'm like, this is getting ridiculous, so I said, listen, we gotta definitely, do what we can do on our own, like, I painted my kitchen last weekend, it's been like little things, I'm like,
I was gonna say, I like to paint all that.
I can't, there's certain things I can't do, like I cannot fix that plumbing issue, but
You know where?
I can, it's just time consuming. The little guys, figure out what to do.
That's tired.
There's always something in the house.
Actually, I did graduation 2 weeks before COVID.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't live in my house for like 3 months because nobody could come back out and finish the house. It was awful.
Oh, I was thinking maybe you got it in.
No, they started it right before, and then it was just a mess. I can only send out one person at a time. Cause they like, that was back like.
For slow progress.
Yeah, and then they just weren't great. And then there were things that they couldn't do, like that right installation. They were like, well, we only sent out people to do. And I'm like, okay, so when? And I was, well, we can't come back. We can only send out one person at a time.
Well, aren't they wearing like masks and all, like the?
Yeah, this was at the beginning though, like, and they weren't allowed.
Were you happy with the end product?
So that's, so like, I got I put in a pocket door to like stay around instead of the door to my house. It's always on the track.
Oh.
I'm like,
And then that's hard to get it because it's in the wall, right?
so every time my brother comes over, he fixes it.
Jeff, I take this?
Yeah, you can.
Like, you know, listen, I'm not gonna put tired.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm just like, I want them, like, I want.
Yeah.
It was a really good idea.
Well, I've had pocket door, my last house did, and this house has one, and it is like a really good space saver, because then you're not having it swing open and whatever, but there's, you have good ones and bad ones.
We need to bring Martin back to board meetings every time he's here. So we're out here 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite
Give you a little, merry-go-round. Oh, you're back, you're okay.
Good to be back. All right now.
That's somebody else's responsibility this evening.
All right, I do have the motion to come out of,
Recess. Come out of recess.
come out of recess.
I like recess too. I think it's fine.
Okay, here we go.
Me.
All right, Joe, do you have anything? for
Yep.
the agenda?
Just some quick reminders, especially for the people on YouTube. Parent survey, the one that I sent out today, is really critical. Please help us get that done. Terry just told me we had a surprise health inspection this week. I didn't even know about. There was no, what's that? Today. And there was no negatives. Found very clean.
Oh, good job, Terry.
I just wanted to address, we've been getting feedback on the pickup process, and Mr. Palmer and I have been working on conceptualizing some other things that might improve it, but we are taking that feedback seriously. And we're trying to see what we can do to continue offering the luxury of curbside pickup, but also potentially other options that.
Child to go.
What's that?
Child to go.
Well, kind of, right. But we're trying to figure out how can we do some things in parallel, and we're working on that. We're gonna try to see if we can put together communication to implement something after Thanksgiving. Today, I just wanted to very much thank the attendees, especially the students, but it seems like They didn't quite make it this far. This has been,
We've seen the library.
this has been an awesome,
They're like,
awesome.
"Come out."
Everybody's here and we're hearing about all the important stuff we're doing, and this is the kind of community involvement we've been looking for. And we are thrilled to have everybody here and be interested in the core of what the school is doing. And then my last one was kind of a joke. Anybody want to drive a bus? Understanding, if you get a chance to see a driver, take a driver. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Joe. And we are almost done, I swear. So the next item is invitations for visitors to address the Board of Education. So this is your time. Go ahead, Dave.
Hello, my name is Dave Ellis. I'm chairman of Rensselaer Environmental Coalition. I just want to thank you all for allowing us to be here this evening to speak. Personally, I just want to say the presentations by everybody were amazing this evening. My only thing that discourages me from wanting to attend future meetings is the length of this meeting, the way it was assembled. Unfortunately, I think it draws a lot of people from the public away from wanting to attend because they feel like they don't have the opportunity to speak until the very end, which is unfortunate. I wish that the public would be able to attend and present towards the beginning of the meeting. I think it would allow a lot more people to attend, especially those who have other commitments. They may have worked all day and they really cannot sit to 8:30 at night for a meeting. As far as the Rensselaer Environmental Coalition, myself and other members are here this evening. We have previously submitted a letter to the Board of Education, which you have all received, and I just wanted to read it over. I'm writing to you on behalf of the Rensselaer Environmental Coalition. In the coming weeks and months, the Rensselaer City School District, a major stakeholder in the local community, has the opportunity to play a vital part in reversing the decision that brought the Dunn Construction and Demolition landfill into existence next to the Rensselaer schools. We understand that at its October meeting, the school board endorsed sending a letter to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, urging them to not renew the operating permit of the landfill. By sending this letter, the board will contribute to the growing efforts to close the landfill. You will join the City of Rensselaer County Council, the Rensselaer County Legislature, and the East Greenwich Town Board, who have each passed resolutions calling for the closure of the landfill. Therefore, we ask that this item be added to the board's agenda for the November 17th meeting, which you did have it on your agenda. We are also interested in working together with you to come up with other ideas for supporting the school community during the effort to close the landfill. The Rensselaer Environmental Coalition is prepared to work with you in any way that would be helpful in supporting Rensselaer City School District students and staff. And the contact information for REC is on your letter. And I also just wanted to say any support from any other groups within the school district would be extremely helpful. The Parent Teacher Student Association, the Teachers Union, any of the sports groups in the school district. We all need to come together as a unison voice. This landfill's up for renewal if and when the dump decides to reapply for the permit at the end of January. So it is vital that we all speak together as a community. I know my niece told me one day recently they went out on recess and she briefly smelled odors from the dump. I know there haven't been a lot of complaints recently because of the new gas collection system, but that should not be the only consideration. The dump is literally 200 feet away from the baseball field. Whether you smell it or not, it's still impacting the children and staff. And it really needs to be closed, and we're asking for your support in helping us to get it closed. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bob Walton. I'm the treasurer of the Rensselaer Environmental Coalition. I joined REC in February of 2020, just as the pandemic hit and everything was shutting down. And the reason I joined it was because I saw the school next to a landfill. I said, what the heck? You know, that's got to be a mistake by government. How did that ever happen? You know, I couldn't believe that anybody that cares about kids would allow that to happen. So rather than rehash all of that, because I've learned a lot since I joined, because I really didn't know anything about it, you're going to have a chance, assuming that the landfill applies for renewing its permit, to make what I would call the opportunity to correct this big mistake. Your leaders in the community, what you do and what you say is gonna make a huge difference to whether this landfill stays open or not. And I think it's gonna be one of your biggest decisions, because if you do make that decision to support the closure of the landfill, you're gonna influence the future of the kids that are here now and all the kids that come here in the future. You should understand too, that because of the new process that DEC is opening up, every person who wants to say something about the landfill will have the opportunity to testify in person or in writing. Everybody. You don't have to live in Rensselaer, they can live anywhere. So anybody in this school, any parent, anybody can come and testify. So that's pretty important. That's a big, big change. I know about the history of the donations and the budget support from the DUN to the school. You know, their publicity flyers say it's because they're good neighbors. Let's understand something. If you don't already know this, Waste Connections, which is the corporation that owns the landfill, has a $6 million line item in their budget called Goodwill. That's where the money comes from for donations and budget support. It's not because they're good neighbors. It's part of their business plan. And what they do, places like industries like Waste Connections, which have a hard time finding places to go to operate, target sort of poor minority communities. And so that's why, excuse me, it's really hard. Can I take this off for a second? Because I'm just not getting enough air.
Just while you're speaking, then you can do that and then put it back on. We can make that accessible.
I'm just not getting enough. What's going on? So basically the donations are a pay to stay. That's why they're making a donation. That's what it's about. They engender a dependency with their money. That's exactly what they do. So they have made, in this process, the school part of their Waste Connection. So what's now going to happen is, because environmental justice is a way to counteract what's happened to these poor communities, is to give everybody in those communities, whether it's going to be a new facility that's supposed to come in or an existing one like this that is supposed to be renewed, it's going to give all those people a top opportunity to say something about what they feel about it and give them due consideration. So it's a huge change. It's like starting all over again, basically. So, and I also want to mention, I looked at the budget contribution and I looked at your budget, and you know, what they contribute to the budget is less than 0.5% of your budget. I heard about all the money you're getting, all the grants you're getting. I mean, I know, you know, money's important. I understand that, but you didn't have it before the DUN came along, and you could go with it without it again. I just think that.
I agree, but it was $110,000 that gave us a new playground. I do want people to know we're not taking millions of dollars
No, I
from
know.
the dump.
No, I know there's other things besides the budget support.
Yes,
There's
thank
other
you.
things. I understand. So on September 29th, the town of East Greenbush had a special town hall meeting concerning the landfill. One of the presenters was Dr. David Carpenter. He's a Harvard-educated physician, and he's the director of the Institute on Health and Environment at SUNY Albany. I'm going to give you a copy of what I said tonight, so you can have that like that put in the record. But since he couldn't come here, I have him with my little telephone amplifier. This only takes a couple minutes. I'd like you to hear it. I hope I can do this without screwing it up, because this is all new to me.
Is this still on?
Yeah. Got to turn it on. Wait a second. First mistake.
Solar level vulnerable to every environmental contaminant.
Oh, sorry.
There's a speaker back there too for the people who are
Really
online.
good.
If you wanna
Oh,
sometimes
okay.
get close
So this
to
is probably,
that.
this could be pretty loud. This thing is brand new.
It sounds loud.
So,
Pretty cool.
let's see.
I'm gonna have to get one.
Yeah, we're just thinking that.
Than are adults. For several reasons. First of all, their bodies are growing and developing. Their brain especially is maturing and developing. pollutants, but they're cancer-causing agents. Well, the kids in Rensselaer School are not going to develop cancer very likely because there's a long latency between exposure and developing that disease. And they are going to be at elevated risk as compared to kids that go into a school that doesn't have the dust from the landfill, doesn't have the particulates from the diesel truck.
Okay, one more. This is also like a minute. Excuse me. No, I don't want to read it because he's much more better at saying it than I am. I don't want to read it. I don't know what's going on here. Come on. Okay, bear with me. Sorry about this.
The dump landfill poses significant threats to the health of the people in the whole greater community, including East Greenbush. It has particular harm to the children going to Rensselaer Public Schools. It's going to reduce their ability to learn. It's going to cause more asthma attacks. It's going to cause, in the future, more respiratory disease, more cancer. It must be closed. I see this as an urgent public health hazard, and I would totally support having the landfill closed yesterday. It certainly must not have the lease renewed next year. But this is a very serious hazard that everybody should take every action they can to urge the powers that be to close it down. And the sooner the better. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you, Doctor. So the most hazardous contaminants stressed by Dr. Carpenter in his presentation is the fine particulate matter that's in the air. The school has never had that air measured by DEC or anyone for the small particulate matter. That's the most dangerous. It's the stuff that really gets down in the lungs and can do damage.
And can never be cleared.
And it can never be cleared. So that air, that kind of level really needs to be measured. And that's something I would say the school board has to really push. I know you've asked for it before because I've seen some correspondence, but REC might be able to help you with that. So let us know if you want some help with that because we might be able to help a little bit with that. In fact, we're available to help you in any way we can. We're going to train people on how to testify when these hearings come up. The school would be a perfect place to host such trainings. And it would show a big concern with the community. It would really involve them. So please feel free to contact us for any of that, and we're willing to help. Thank you very much. We've got copies for you. So.
And I think it would be great to, be able to facilitate the public comment. So, trainings for doing the public speaking portion, but also it would be great. I feel like, if the school could also facilitate the actual written public comment. So
Yeah,
as
just
long
both.
as
Yeah,
Tony,
both. Yeah, really.
yes,
Yeah.
they can provide written comment. So as much as, that would be my vote is to get the community as engaged as possible right here at the school. Clearly it's community members feel like this is a problem. I think you guys know my science background, and I feel extremely strongly that our children should not be going to school next to a dump. And I don't care what benefit, playground or not, that people think that it makes any sense to have from Waste Connections when our children are being exposed to these chemicals. And I'm sorry, but if you don't see you don't see them have an asthma attack at that moment, headache, nausea from hydrogen sulfide, they can actually be at elevated and increased risk for cancer later in life that you're not going to see now. Lead reduces IQ points, and that dump takes buildings, old buildings. They have no way to tell us that that's not happening in those trucks. Lead, asbestos, seriously, people, there is no reason we should have a dump next to a school. And the fact that people are not more irate about this is absolutely appalling to me because I feel like people don't understand. Our children are much more vulnerable to environmental toxins because they are growing. Their cells are dividing rapidly because they're still growing. There's a lot of risk inherent in just the nature of the fact that children are growing when they're exposed to environmental toxins. This is absolutely, you guys, many of you know this, know that I feel this way. Many of you elected me to be here on the school board, mostly because of my stance around the dump. And that hasn't changed, so I'm with you. And I'm hopeful that my other board members will be with me to try to make sure that we can get folks in here and get community engagement and community involvement for that opportunity for public comment. Because we did not have that in Rensselaer when the dump got permitted. And that is a travesty. That's a permitting process that got overlooked and we didn't have that opportunity. Now is our chance to get the community engaged in public comment so that we can make sure that that dump does not exist. I don't care, again, what benefit this school has gotten or any child at graduation. I don't care. It's not worth putting them at risk.
Exactly.
And it's not a risk.
I will not speak for the rest of the board members. I will speak for myself. I don't want the dump here. But what I will tell you is I'm glad advocacy groups can take that on because unfortunately, I try to stay abreast of what I can as much as I can. And Joe informs me as president, we're constantly having conversations with the DEC, with the dump, whenever we have concerns. But I thank you for taking this on because I do have to tell you that I just can't personally take on a huge advocacy in it. But I agree, I don't want the dump here. And I thank people that can go out and are, have a good background in this, that understand it, that can advocate for it. Because I just can't do that right now, on that level, but
May
I
I
thank
ask
you.
why you can't take it on that level? Is the board prohibited by some kind of
No, I'm
regulation?
gonna speak personally, Dave, at my level, okay?
Okay.
The board is not, we are choosing to do that as a board, and Joe has already said that we're going to do that in a written letter, which it's gonna be public, we're very transparent about that stuff. What I will tell you on a personal level, you probably don't hear a lot from me, and then people probably say the board president doesn't say much. I don't speak to what I don't know, which is number one. I try to take all the information that I can, and we are gonna write on behalf of the board that we don't want the dump here. We were here first. I think people also need to remember that.
Exactly.
That we didn't play an active role, and none of us were on board at that point when that dump came in. And I'm sure if we had to say at that point, we would have.
I also want to say there's a difference in us as individuals when we are sitting here as a board than when we are out as a private citizen. I myself submitted a letter. I was unable to attend the East Greenbush hearing, but I submitted a letter on behalf of my personal beliefs that the dump should be closed. But when I am here as a board member, I have to be cognizant that I am here as a board member and I'm not here as a person with my own political thoughts. And whether or not you want to say it is clearly a political issue, it is also a health and environmental issue. And for many of us, it's a personal issue. But it's very difficult because first and foremost, our responsibility is to the health and safety of our students and our faculty and staff. We have a fiscal responsibility to ensure that this school can run. Obviously, 0.5 of 1% isn't going to make or break the bank. But when that money for the playground, when that does happen, instead of that money getting fined and re-going into the state coffers, we said, why shouldn't Rensselaer City School District get something that benefits kids? Getting kids outside that live in an inner city that don't have a safe place to play, that playground is a huge benefit. A 1-to-1 Chromebook, when that pandemic hit, we were able to do that because of funds that utilize that program. And so when people come and ask us to make very broad statements, there's also an air particulate monitoring station out there that is one of 2 in the entire state of New York and is sat on our campus for as long as I've been involved on the board here. And so to say we're not taking monitoring steps seriously, I think is inaccurate.
That's not what I said.
We did not say that.
We don't say that.
Yeah. So, and I would just like to counter as well that with COVID, going into COVID, there were a series of at least one really not great decision that put our district at a financial deficit, really. And so to take money from a dump because of previous poor decision-making from previous boards on budgets, to say that it makes any sense whatsoever that the kids got Chromebooks because of this dump money, when they could have gotten Chromebooks if people had made better decisions in the past. We can't rewind that, but let's not start taking money from polluters for our children's environment. You said it yourself, and I'm not trying to disagree with you, but my point being is that a well-run district, outside of some of the challenges that we end up coming up against with state funding and those sorts of things, will not again be in a situation, hopefully, where you go into something like COVID and then you have to accept presents from polluters right next door. So ultimately, at the end of the day, again, my particular, and I'm speaking personally, not for the board, obviously, that I don't think there's any reason to take anything from a dump that is right next to our school that accepts all of those things into it that could and probably are a hazard to our children's health. That to the letter that is being requested, we are waiting for the DEC to tell us that the application has been submitted. Right now, that application has not been submitted by Waste Connections to DEC. So at this point, we don't even know if they're applying for that permit. And so we're waiting. And so that's what's happening with that.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention something about that because right now is the lead up time to getting the community involved. So if you wait till the application is filed, and I'll bet you dollars to donuts it's going to be filed, they're making so much money, they're not going to walk away from this. It's not going to happen that way. I'd be very shocked if that happened.
Hi.
They make a ton of
I'm
money.
gonna interrupt for a second.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just, I just wanna introduce myself. My name's Jamie Heimroth Vasallo.
Hi.
I ran the PTA years ago.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm the vice president of the PTA. I'm a mother. My son attends a school here. I volunteer. I Little League, CYO, Top Warner. I'm the person. So I just have to make a statement. We took over Little League a couple of years ago, one of your board members and myself. At that time, I think it is very apparent that this has become very political. I'm against the dump. I'm not allowed to make any politicals or any statements because of the REC. You're shaking your head, so I think you were probably at the last meeting. We were called out by the mayor. Still waiting for an apology there, but we won't get into that.
Oh, come on.
So I'm here to say we can't take a stance. The PTA can't say anything for or against anything. That is because Judy was there at that meeting also. Knows the situation with that. I am not for a dump. To sit here and to ask that people that are involved with organizations for our students to question us and say, you wish we would say something it's hurtful because I would not want my son to go to school here next to a dump. To sit here for the last 20 minutes and hear.
I removed my daughter from the school, so she didn't go to the school
Right,
next to the
right,
dump.
everybody but I wanna move this along and just
Well, let
say-
us get the opportunity then.
2 years. And I want her in.
I've had my hand up forever.
Can I bring some, can I just, it's been a long meeting. Can I just talk about some things that I see in commonality of all the opinions here and some of the appreciation that I have for the different opinions? There are some things said that can be misconstrued. There are some things said that there's an emotional presumption behind it. I think what you will find is, Dave, you said something that was very powerful earlier. When you said, you have lives and you have other things you may get to and you worked all day. The things that the people at this table are passionate about are all the things you just sat through today. That's where we pour our heart and soul into, all of those things.
It's hard to tell from our side.
The people that came to advocate here, you pour your heart and soul into closing the door. We don't disagree with that any more than you disagree with educating students and providing a great education. There's not a disagreement. There's a prioritization of where we pour our heart and soul into. This is what we live to do. All the things that we spent 2 hours talking about today, that's what we live to do. We also agree, and thank you for all of the emotion and time and effort you put in to doing something we also want to see get done. But when finger pointing happens in any given direction, it's difficult to get back to the one voice of where people could
I'm
could
sorry,
live.
I did not mean to add to that. You guys know, I get very emotional when it comes to the dump because it is just an unbelievable tragedy to me. And those companies take advantage. I think you know, Joe, I mean, anything I've brought up, if it's something else, I'm not trying to wrangle the school over it. The problem isn't with the school. And I think everyone should be aware of that. The problem isn't with the school, it's with Waste Connections. You're asking us to make a statement and we're all saying we're in agreement with you. So I apologize if my emotion brought any kind of division. That was not, I just get extremely irate because of my background essentially and what I believe to be the case here. And it's actually just, it breaks my heart. So, I think we're all on the same page. And it's just a matter of trying to make sure that we can do something that shows to folks, the community members, to REC and others, that we do care and we don't want the dump here, and we do plan to do that with a letter. So I feel like we are on the same page, and and I appreciate that. And I can now, being on this side, I can say it is difficult to try to speak for the district on the board in a way that feels like it can satisfy you, but to do what we need to do from a school district perspective, I have that perspective now that I did not have before. So I can tell you that knowing that, I know exactly what the folks sitting here feel, because everyone here feels the same way I do. I just emoted it.
And Judy, and that's why,
Thank
why
you.
I chose to write that letter
Yes.
personally and submit it to that hearing.
Right.
Because I feel that way, but our focus has to be on students. We have kids reading behind grade level. We have kids that will go hungry if we're not sending food home.
And that's why
And-
if the meeting is long, the meeting is long, because this is exactly the business and the work that's been done, and I'm thankful to be part of it. But it's not it's not the only thing. Yes, it is super important, and you guys know that I feel that way. But I've also been sitting here and listening to some of the challenges here that the district faces, and I will tell you that they're equally as challenging and disturbing on many fronts that our whole school district is trying to solve and attend to for our children. So I can promise you that we're all on the same page. We're all on the same page.
Okay, I would just like to say, a lot of my frustration comes from lack of cooperation. I feel with the school, I feel like you cannot put a dollar amount on a child when they're out there. I have a tenant that lives downstairs, and there's a little boy, and he tells me, oh, I smell it every time I go out to recess. Back when I was a kid, I never had to worry about it. This isn't, I had to worry about going to school next to a landfill. I think this is something that was a mistake. I'm not blaming the school. I'm not blaming the PTA. I'm just blaming the people that bought it here. Just make, one way or another, you're going to end up in the future, going to be on the right side of history or the wrong side of history. The time is now. You know what I mean? And that's why I get frustrated and mad. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I go to all the RAC meetings, and I just want to see you guys be as passionate about it as we are. You know what I mean? And to come to our meetings, and just join us, please.
And I've come to some. But Sarah, you said to me on the way down the stairs, that you felt like we wasted your time here.
No.
I want to see you be as passionate about all the things we talked about today.
I pay my taxes, Joe, and I almost go broke for it too.
You're asking me to apply my passion, and this is where it gets exhausted here. If we don't teach kids to read, nobody will. If we don't sit and spend all of our time doing that, we're the only ones that can.
I know.
If we were to shift our efforts to what you do, there's already a group that does that. That's still, the work still can get done because there's a group of passionate people right here that we're counting on to get it done.
So what I can say is, I hope you take the takeaway is that we're all thankful for the work that you guys are doing and what you are bringing to the table. We are, because again, I have a new perspective and real
Yeah.
appreciation for what's happening here is in just a short time period, seeing that, you know, you can sit from this like coaching, you know, when you're the coach and people are sitting on the stands and they're going, oh, the coach should have put somebody in here, the coach should have put somebody in there. That's happening. I've done it before. I hear you. I'm on the other side of the table and I'm looking at it, I'm going, it's hard. There's so much to attend to. And I think the takeaway is that we all feel the same way that
Yeah.
you do. And we're thankful that you're bringing the passion and everything that
Yeah.
you're doing to
Yeah.
try to make sure that, because really there are lots of things that they need to do now. This whole process maybe would have been different and it would have been a re-permit if you guys weren't involved and engaged doing what you've been doing.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think we're all on the same page. And I know everybody wishes it, but the amount of time that goes into just running the school for folks like, I mean, Joe, I don't even know if he sleeps, and I'm saying that very seriously and respectfully. I mean, it has been a nightmare with a lot of the COVID stuff and trying to make connections before resources have come in. So ultimately, like, we're with you. It's just that there's other things that have to be attended to, and we're glad that you're doing it.
And I would like to say that I'm sorry for the frustration, like you had a few on coming from behind my house for the, the privilege of paying taxes. I get to go home and there's a landfill. It's getting bigger day by day and the noises, and it's just out of frustration. And, how long is it going to be for the first child gets cancer? The time to act is right now. I will be cooperating with the school board. I'll be at every meeting, you know what I mean, here, and support you guys wholeheartedly. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lou Sebesta. I live on Partition Street. And I agree, this is not a political issue. This is not a Democratic issue. This is not a Republican issue. This is a people of Rensselaer issue. It's a citizen of Rensselaer issue. It's a student issue. It's a East Greenbush issue. People who surround the dump, these trucks, this landfill is the largest construction and demolition landfill in all of New York State. It's taking just demolished houses and everything, pulverized waste that's been brought up in this meeting. They don't even know what is in there. When the house gets demolished, they crush it all up and bulldoze it. If there's asbestos on the pipes, asbestos in the shingles and the linoleum, it's lead paint. It all gets crushed up and demolished and put into these trucks. They roar by my house. I live on Partition Street. It starts up at 6:30 in the morning, and they jam up going up this big street. They can weigh 60 tons, up to 120,000 pounds, and many of them are running heavy. And some of them tipped over and fallen over and dumped their stuff down into the maze of spaghetti of highways between Rensselaer and Albany, and they're coming right through the heart of our city. They're tracking the dust from the landfill all over our streets. It's blowing around in the air, and this dust machine, this pathetic dust machine, swirling metal brushes, doesn't even use virtually no water. It is creating more dust in the air. I measured decibels on the street of over 107 decibels of these trucks. I mean, it is deafening in your front yard, on the street, next to your car, even in your backyard. You can even take refuge inside your house. You can pictures jar on the walls. It rattles the doors and windows. People, your citizens, your students, your staff, your teachers live in this community as well. It's a group issue. We're not asking you to get on a limb and take your jobs and your personal safety in hand. We're just asking for support from fellow stakeholders, fellow allies, to make a statement to the DEC. We hope it reaches the governor, the new governor's ears and eyes. But this landfill, Waste Connections is a giant waste company. They own Colony Landfill too. They own a lot of landfills. This is not their only thing. They don't care about our city. They have a bottom line and they have corporate stockholders. This company, when you look at the environmental impact statement, and it's in the library in Rensselaer, they want to go to 2036 if they have their way, unless this is 99-acre dump. They make, with all the cells, they make a new cell, when they excavate one cell, they're going back and forth with sand and gravel dump trucks, excavating deeper and deeper in other cells. When they get ready, when they fill one cell, they're gonna get another cell going. They want to go to 2036 unless maybe I want to expand it even further. So this thing is not going to go away easily. We're just a small group. This is the core we have. I mean, with COVID, we don't have endless, like energy. I'm 74. I am still going. I mean, I have passion about this, and I would like to have some quality of life. But this is not, like I said, it's not a political issue. It's a quality of life issue. It's a public health issue. I think it's a public health emergency. It's getting worse. We have gotten the load of this landfill for over 6 years now, and it's going on 7 years. And they want to keep on going. We're reaching out to any ally we can. This is putting PFAS, PFOA chemicals in our streams. It's going to, this leachate is going right through Albany, go down Partition Street to the sewage treatment plant in Manans, and it's basically going untreated in the Hudson River. And there are like 6 communities in the mid-Hudson River: Poughkeepsie, the town of Poughkeepsie, the city of Poughkeepsie, Rhinebeck. These 6 communities, both sides of the rivers in the mid-Hudson, they're drinking the water that comes down the Hudson. That's their drinking water. There's a lot of people who are really stakeholders that may not even know they're stakeholders. That's all we were reaching out to you as our allies, fellow citizens. Please just make a stand. We applaud what you're doing here with the students. A challenging environment in schools, especially with COVID. I empathize with you. We are allies. Their passions are running high. We had, like you said, Judy, I think we're all in this together. We're all allies. It doesn't matter. We are a nonprofit. We're all volunteer. Nobody's getting paid.
Right.
We're not supposed to be political.
We all do feel the same way. We do feel the same way, and I really do appreciate you guys coming out to speak here tonight. I think everybody does, and again, that it's your passion, that what you're focusing on, which is hopefully. But we just to reiterate, we do agree, and we will support in the way that we previously mentioned for sure, and hopefully we can do something to help the public. Do the comment period. I think that would be one of the biggest takeaways from.
Just have one quick comment. I mean, the letter you're talking about sending is not till the application is filed. Sending a letter earlier than that will do a lot to progress this issue. We're not asking you as individuals to come out as an individual and make an individual statement. I was not attacking anybody. I don't want to attack anybody. I want this dump closed. That's what I'm about.
So
that's all I care about.
So your request is that the letter goes in before.
What's that?
Your request is the letter goes in as soon as possible.
Yeah, send it now, because this is the groundswell is starting. It will make a difference. You can always send it again when the time comes to testify. You can go testify yourselves as individuals.
I think we want to be thoughtful about the letter, and we are wrapping up sort of the first quarter here with students. We're dealing with a busing crisis where we're having to essentially close instruction for our high school because we don't have enough busing. So we hear your concern. We understand the urgency that you have and the timeline that's at hand for all of us, but we do have to prioritize getting students in the building.
I understand.
And but we said that we would do it, and we will do it, and we would like the respect of time to get that letter together, and it will be in a timely manner.
And we're here to help. If you want our help, we've got a lot of information we can share with you. So
I'm gonna attempt to segue. I don't know how, but I'm just gonna roll with it. So my passion is youth sports and providing opportunities for the kids in the city. So Pop Warner, we're wrapping up, and we sent 2 cheer teams to regionals. Our Kiwi team did a phenomenal job in Trenton, New Jersey, and our Mighty Might team qualified for nationals in Orlando, Florida. Our AU tackle team also also won the Empire State Classic tournament for 7 and 8-year-olds last Saturday. Right. Okay, so Saturday. They were amazing. They were undefeated in the regular season. They were, if you see them, congratulate them because they were great. So, and also if you see a cheerleader, she's probably going to be asking you for sponsorship or along those lines. Follow our Facebook page. We're doing lots of fundraisers and just support them because they have worked so hard. And the school has worked with us a lot to provide facilities to practice at and to have games and everything. So we appreciate that.
And when are they going down to do that?
December 3rd through like the 10th. We compete on the 7th. So teachers, bear with us.
And I think I saw the cheerleaders doing a coin drop.
We
So make sure
yeah.
you take some money out of the ATM, so it's in your vehicle. So
Oh, they
you see them
Venmo.
at the red light.
We also have
Oh, they
A lot of kids taking my phone and Venmoing them.
Oh, Venmo?
Yeah, they Venmo. The group is always Venmoing money.
We do, Rensselaer Pop Warner. It's just the name and yep. So just, even just a great job. Congratulations. We're proud of you. It goes a long way because they are so proud.
And what age group are these girls?
The girls are 7, 8, and 9.
What is the Facebook page?
Just Rensselaer Pop Warner.
Rensselaer Pop Warner.
I'm gonna go get my cheerleader.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Ashley.
Sure. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
My name's Tom Ellis. I'll be very brief. I ask you to send a letter to Waste Connections soon, telling them or asking them, please do not submit a landfill renewal application, that we don't want you here anymore. The unwelcome mat is out now. Do not want it anymore. Don't wait for them to submit the renewal application. Preempt that and ask them, do not submit that renewal application. We don't want to fight it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Wendy Dwyer, and I'm a retired nurse. I'm also a former firefighter with asthma from, I'm sure, the exposures I had in the old days when you didn't wear protective gear outside. And because I'm 4'10", I was never inside. I just want to say something that really frightened me is a neighbor was in a hurry to empty a house out because of a death in a sale. And I was helping, and the person that brought the dumpster told them, if you have, because he said, I've got these really nasty chemicals, what do I do with this? He said, just bury them down deep, put things over top of them. I brought this up at the city council meeting because this is, the fact is you have, as people have said, you have no idea what's next door to you here. You really have no idea because people are being told to take really dangerous, the cans of stuff that you find in old garages. They had airline fuel in this garage. It's a long story. And they were told to not use that, but other things, just put them down deep and pile stuff on top of it.
I'll take it, yeah.
So chilling. It's just so chilling.
There's news stories about that. It's not, yeah. I mean, you have a personal firsthand, experience story, but I mean, it's been, there have been news clips about those chemicals being buried underneath these, containers. And then, so they don't see it when they do the inspection at the dump. They just look at the top and then it gets dumped and there you go.
Put it in chicken feed bags, put it in your horse feed bags, just bury it down deep. I mean, I go to such lengths to try to always dispose of everything properly. It just made me so sick. I just wanted to tell you that. You don't know.
Thank you, guys. Listen,
That's
thank
all.
you for all of
That's
your
all.
involvement and passion of what you drive, because we need advocacy groups that do this, and you are the face of that, and we are not your adversary. Our passion and our time commitment lies with what you saw today. And that's where we are, but that doesn't mean we disagree with what you're doing. We agree and count on you to be the face of that.
Well, thank you for your support then.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
Joe,
We
may
do
I just make
appreciate
a
it.
final word for REC? I just want to thank you guys all for listening to us this evening. I know sometimes people, get very heartfelt into the situation. This is impacting our whole entire community and the children in this school. And we'd like to work with you guys as an ally to try to get some change to get this dump closed. I mean, like I said in my previous talking points, we got to work together in unison. I know there was a comment made about the PTA. you know, there are times where people do get frustrated and things may have been said in the past, you know, and they were taken too far and taken granted. But, you know, it doesn't matter because as a community, as people, we all gotta look to the past and move to the future. You know, those things happened in the past, but it doesn't mean that we can't work together as a group and move forward. I mean, there's no reason unless there's bylaws that say these other school entities aren't able to speak out. There's no
There
reason.
are, sadly, that is what happens,
Yeah.
that's my point, that's all I was trying to say, is just sadly, I agree. I don't wanna hear, but we cannot write you a letter. We can't.
The PTA really is not allowed
The
to
New York
say.
State PTA
What?
forbids us from getting involved in
What law
politics.
is that?
It's not
I
made it political.
no, it's a human rights issue. Your husband should know that.
This is school board meeting. School board meeting. Is there anything else having to do with education or instruction? Any other comments?
I was just trying to wrap up.
I got you. I'm just counting around. I've been to one of your meetings where the same thing happened. I'm sorry. I understand.
No, I just wanted to say thank you and ask that everybody work together. You know, I don't know what their laws say or what they don't, but we appreciate their support.
I just want to say one thing, I'm just not quite sure when people are seeing this as political or politics, I mean, I see this.
Duh, you breathe.
And it is, you know, of concern to the students for their health, so I just I don't quite get why people keep saying politics.
I don't think that we would have the answer for you on that, because I don't think that we've actually, you know, like you know, that's more of like a community, I think, back and forth. There's a strong political challenge in Rensselaer, just people being dug in. But really, I think what we've agreed to tonight is that we're on the same page. So the whole politics question is really gonna have to be not here, because we're not doing that here with the school board and, you know, with this issue with Iraq. And that seems to me to be much more of a community, people being dug in. And ultimately, the last thing I would say about that is please stop being so dug in, people. I mean, I married into this community. He left, I stayed. But you know, I can say that honestly, it's heartbreaking to see people who agree on issues still argue about them as much as they do. At the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want a really nice city. We want a good school. We want a healthy environment. We all want the same things. So I really would just ask on a broader stroke for the entire city, just to please stop being so dug in. We just need to start trying to talk the same language. And I did emote, but I'm not angry at anybody. I just want unity. And I want people to just be able to talk through this. Now you know the PTA has bylaws. So there you go. If we had talked about that, you know, and actually had a communication or conversation, but now we are. And I'm thankful for that. We don't need to go into that any further. But ultimately, if we would stop pointing fingers like is happening across the community, we would stop doing that. We can have better communication with each other and get to solve some of these problems together instead of this, I don't know what's going on, but it's not good for everyone. So I'm hopeful people can hear that and come together.
Thank you, Judy.
Thanks, Judy.
Thank
Can we move
So
our meeting?
I would like to, if nobody has any questions, which I hope you don't, fourth through eight, I'd like to move the remainder of the agenda, please. Mark.
I'll second.
Dana, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
I'm over it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have cookies and brownies. You are welcome to on your way out. Please help us.